She looks like a broken woman, but is it remorse, manipulation, or just the reality of an impending life sentence setting in? Tim Jansen and the crew, they're here to discuss Donna Adelson's sentencing, which is about to go down in Tallahassee.
Welcome to the global phenomenon, Surviving the Survivor. Here's your host, Emmy Award-winning journalist, Joel Waldman.
What's up, STS Nation? Welcome to Surviving the Survivor. This is the show that brings you the very best guests in all of true crime. Today is the day. Donna Adelson, this 75-year-old Florida grandmother, convicted in the murder-for-hire plot of one-time FSU law professor Dan Markel. She will learn her sentence in just a few moments' time. Will her age, her health, or her family history matter to Judge Stephen Everett, or will the court simply make an example out of the matriarch? Here to break it down, the great Tim Jansen. Big day, Tim. Welcome. We are looking for Joe Potuto. We might have to put out a bolo. She's usually right on time all the time. But Joe is supposed to join as well. I'm sure she will be here any moment. But Tim Jansen, lay the foundation. How is this going to go down today? What should we expect? How long is this going to be, the whole Megillah?
Well, the judge is probably going to ask both parties if they've seen the pre-sentence investigation, which they both have. Anybody have any objections to it? I haven't seen anything filed. I didn't see a sentencing memorandum filed. I looked earlier today. I think it's a fait accompli, right? She's going to get life in count one. She'll probably get 30 years on count two, 30 years on count three, and they'll all run consecutive. I think that's what's going to happen. And it's pretty. I went and looked at the judge's denial of the new trial and interviewed the jurors, and the judge hit it right on. He went right down the point. These people committed this crime for murder for money. So the conspiracy isn't over until they're paid. So he clearly was linking Donna making that payment of the money and Donna paying the money to the co-conspirator, Katie. So that clearly would satisfy the requirements for the conspiracy and the solicitation. So I think she's going to have a hard time getting anything on appeal on counts 2 and 3 for sure.
Yeah, we're glad you found us. Maureen Conroy saying she's glad she found the channel. Hearing starts at 3 Eastern time. If it starts at 2 Eastern time, we're 50 minutes late, and that's one of the comments. So I hope we are right about that. To Darla's point here, Tim, LWAP plus 30 plus 30. If it was just 10 for another crime, that's basically a life sentence for Donna Adelson, which is kind of sad, but true. What kind of factors does Judge Stephen Everett take into account on a day like today?
Well, he takes into account a lot of things, but for count 1, he can't take into account anything. It's a man's statutory sentence. He's going to get it. We do not have parole in Florida, so if you get life, you get life. Life means life in Florida. And if she got 30 years, then she'd serve 85% of 30 years, which is a long time. We talk about 10 years being, she's 76 right now. Her lifespan in prison probably be 6 to 7 years, I would imagine. She's not going to get the medical she's used to. Probably going to be depressed. Probably going to have issues with other inmates. She's probably going to be having to pay other inmates canteen money or things on the outside. So the stress, all that's going to add up. And as Phil said, he hopes she gets 120 and she serves 120. So she can live and think about the rest of her life for a long time, what she did and how she took away an individual, a brilliant professor, a father, a son, and a brother. And so I wouldn't have sympathy for people because it clearly shows the evidence that she was involved.
Yeah, I am just getting checking messages from Steve Cohen just because I'm a little concerned about Joe Potuto, but she should be here. And let me just let
We're a little early, right?
We're a little early, but Joe was going to hop on at 2:45, and I'm finding out Melba Pearson, another excellent criminal defense attorney and a professor, former defense attorney. She's going to join at 4:00, but she knows the case inside out, and we'll get some commentary, of course, on the back side of this. But again, if you're just joining us, today is sentencing day for Donna Sue Adelson, and I guess the big question is, are we done after this? But I'm not going to ask Tim about that right now. We're going to keep going here. So, what about, remorse or defiance? Can we expect to see a remorseful Donna Adelson today? I mean, a lot of people say she's not going to take responsibility for this.
If she's going to say anything, she's going to say, I did not do this, Your Honor. I respectfully will appeal this. I did not do it. She's not going to admit it. She will never admit it till the day she dies. That's not in her persona. And you know how she is. She's aghast. She was appalled that the jury could find her guilty. I don't know what she was thinking when that verdict was read. She clearly didn't think that was going to happen.
Yeah. I agree with you, Tim. I think she's gonna she's gonna probably address the court, probably in a very, my guess is in a very succinct manner, and she's going to say exactly what you just said, which is she's innocent in all this. How dare this judge sentence her? But since she's talking to the judge, she's going to ask for.
But what is the defense going to say? On count one, they know it's a statutory minimum, mandatory life. And so what are they going to argue? Counts 2 and 3, judge, don't give her the max, give her 10, give her 15. I mean, they're in a position they really don't have anything to say other than, judge, we filed our appeal, and I just don't see what they can say as a defense.
Space Code, here we go. This looks like it's starting early. It's basically, I'm hearing myself. I don't know if that's your mic. If something's already on your end.
Well, the paralegals.
Yeah, we've got a crazy echo going. Tell you what, Judge Everett, that's now gone, the echo, thankfully. But this is a pool camera, obviously, and they just showed Donna. So Donna's in the courthouse, Tim. Mm-hmm. This is courtroom 3G, the big courtroom in Leon County that we were at for Donna's trial, and I believe it's 3G. And 3G. Yeah,
back to her prison garb.
Back to her prison garb. Yeah, we saw that, and Judge Stephen Everett is going to eventually come in. Obviously, the pool camera is rolling a little bit early. It's about 5 minutes to 3, and the hearing is set. The sentencing hearing is set for 3. Judge Stephen Everett is always on time, and sometimes he's early, which is why I thought it was just about to start. I'm also hearing, we're getting word, Tim, that Donna, I don't know that anyone's going to be there in person for her. There she is, back to the.
Is Harvey there? Do we know if Harvey's there?
I don't know. But from what I understand, there's going to be a bunch of emails read on Donna's behalf. What kind of weight does that carry?
The judge will consider it, but in reality, 0.
So will the defense, Josh Zellman and Jackie Fulford, are they going to read these aloud, or did they just give them just give the judge the emails? And here she is, the professor, Joe Potuto.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Whether they'll read them or they'll just let the judge read them.
Yeah. There he is. He's in
Harvey.
Court. There he is. And that is his
he wore a tie.
Yeah. That's a friend of theirs right to his left who has been with him. Look, I don't think he wore a jacket and tie the entire trial, but there is Harvey. Brown looking sport coat with a bluish tie for the moment that he's going to find out he's going to be living separately from his wife until death do them part. Joe Potuto, sentencing day, big day. How are you? Your thoughts ahead of this beginning momentarily.
Well, I have no idea. I don't know if you've talked about this. I have no idea why it was moved up. The murder one is an automatic life without parole. I think they're going to focus on the conspiracy count, not directly in what they say, because on appeal, they're going to try to move that murder one conviction off, and then it will matter what the sentence is on conspiracy.
Sure.
So I suspect both sides, knowing that, will really focus arguments on why the maximum and why the two other counts should be consecutive.
Forgive my ignorance. Just explain the count one here. What's going to happen on count one? Because Tim is already.
Count one is murder one, and that's an automatic life without parole in Florida. So that one is not really at issue in this sentencing hearing. What's at issue is the sentences that the judge will impose on count two, which is the conspiracy, and count three, which is the solicitation to commit first-degree murder. Now, if the murder one conviction stands on appeal, these sentences are, I guess they give you psychic victory to the prosecution and some solace to the victims, but they don't matter because if she's serving life without parole, she's serving life without parole. But if by chance that conviction is reversed, and I think that's where the appellate argument is going to focus, that there wasn't enough for murder one under Florida law, then the sentences on these other two counts matter because they're the ones that will stick. And so for that reason, I think this takes on some weight with both the prosecution and the defense in terms of making a strong argument that she doesn't, on the defense side, she doesn't deserve the maximum on the conspiracy, and that, you know, she's a good person and she doesn't have any record and all the rest of it.
Well, that explanation helps quite a bit. So 2 and 3 are going to be, here we go. We're going to listen in now and get analysis on the back end here.
Afternoon, everyone. You can see that.
Donna looks thrilled.
Her least favorite place to be. The court.
More than the jail?
Well, yeah, that's true.
Wait till she gets to Lowell.
Think she'll gasp when he gives her life plus 60?
Do you think she's going to testify in her
No,
statement?
she's going to say, I didn't do this.
I'll make some statement. And the Markels already have, so they're not going to be doing another victim's impact statement here.
No, yeah, the Markels gave their victim impact statement.
Right. Is your Zoom open, or are you working on that?
You see, the FBI is trying to get money for Pat Sanford's investigation and for the state attorney investigation.
I think they should. Why should the taxpayers of Florida have to pay?
Right.
Or the federal government. That would be me.
She does not look happy today. That's the paralegal who was comforting her the whole time. No more comfort because she knows what's up.
The gig is up. The jig is up.
Jig is up.
Well, she doesn't have any reason yet to comfort. You two are being a little precipitous here. If Donna starts to cry, she may start to pack.
She might.
While I have a second here, there was an update on the Ellen Greenberg story that we've been following almost as closely as this one, and the medical examiner in Philadelphia has ruled again that it is a self-unaliving, which is just unbelievable. We're digging into it, and we're going to do a show tomorrow night. I asked everyone who's here now, all 10,000 people, please come support the Greenbergs tomorrow. It is the biggest travesty of justice. Google Ellen Greenberg.
To be giving a statement of resentment this afternoon.
That's correct, Judge.
Is there anyone that is going to be attending on behalf of the state as well?
Yes, Your Honor, the Markel family will be appearing by Zoom, but they're relying on their statements previously made.
That was Dan Markel's friend, Tamara Demko, in the back. She's been on the show before, so Dan's got support inside that courtroom.
Wonder if Harvey will speak.
I would love
He's
to hear it.
dressed for it.
Yeah.
He's got nothing to lose.
Right.
Yeah.
Focusing right on Harvey.
It looks good.
Except the tie doesn't match the suit. Other than that,
Oh, it's a blue. Navy and brown is not a bad combination.
yeah.
He'll never look as good as Tim Jansen.
Yeah, but Tim is going to never have to make a
Won't
victim
read the phone
statement on
number
behalf
out
of
loud, but is iPhone one of the witnesses in this matter?
I've read them before. When the
Well, that's true.
I read for defendants who the parents couldn't. They were sobbing, so I read their statements. That's not easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
I read it for defendants too.
Do you do a deadpan or do you put emotion in it when you're doing it?
I try to do well, in federal court. I try to do deadpan because I've known that judge a long time. And he wouldn't appreciate me ad-libbing. And wouldn't it be funny? She said, "I want to testify now, Judge."
Yeah.
Judge, the 647 number belongs to Mrs.
Well, that's essentially what
You can tell
Sarah.
her to rejoin.
You know, the defendant who let her significant other die in the suitcase, she essentially testified at her sentencing and said all the things she would have said had she testified.
That was a terrible, terrible case. Watching him die in the suitcase and asking, that was horrible.
Everyone on the Zoom can keep themselves on mute until it is time for you to speak, please. We're here this afternoon for final disposition and sentencing in case number 2023 CF 3226, State versus Donna Adelson. Parties can make their appearances.
Georgia Kappelman for the state.
Joshua's on for the defense.
Jack Colford on behalf of Mrs. Adelson.
Have the parties received their copies of the pre-sentence investigation report?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Judge.
Are there any objections that either party wishes to make to the pre-sentence investigation report?
No, sir.
There are corrections that would need to be made, Judge.
What are the corrections?
Would you like me to stay in here at the length?
Is that in there?
On page 1, they have the date of arrest as November 20th, 2023. And she was actually arrested on November the 13th of 2023.
I will notate Ms. Kappelman, is there any
No,
challenge to those?
No, sir.
I will notate the copy then that will be filed with the clerk as November 13th of 2023. Go ahead.
On page number 5, there are several. The first place, near the top, it says wage, salary, and this was supposed to be her current employment that she had, and it said $1,000. She did not have employment where she made $1,000. She was not receiving any salaried income, so that should be 0.
Ms. Kappelman, do you wish to be heard concerning those?
No, Your Honor.
So again, I will notate the wage salary as $0.00.
Thank you, Judge. The next, underneath there, it says the number of jobs in the past 2 years, 1. She has had no job. She's been employed the majority of the 2 years.
Which part of page 5 are you referring to?
Well, that's on page 5, right underneath the wage.
So no jobs, no employment.
Correct, that should be 0.
Ms. Kappelman, do you wish to be heard?
No, sir.
Notate that there has not been any employment or 0. Go ahead.
Thank you, Judge. Directly under there, it says months unemployed in the past 2 years, 0, and she's been unemployed for 2 years.
Well,
Okay.
so you're asking for that to be 24 months.
Correct.
Go ahead.
There are 2 typographical errors in the remarks section. The second line from the top in the remarks says history, comma, she. I believe that's supposed to say the defendant.
Give me one moment, I'm finding it.
I wish they'd been this careful with their motions and presentations.
She's billing for this,
She was billing for that too.
maybe. These are really corrections. Now.
You said history is the first word leading into the correction.
History is right next to the word she. You see that's on the second line down. It says remarks, and then the word right under there on my copy says history, comma, she.
Yes.
It should be the.
Ms. Kappelman.
No objection.
Go ahead.
And
Thank
then
you
in
to
the same
Harold Anything But
paragraph,
Dull.
4 lines down to the far
Harold.
right, it said who had fallen in. That should be ill, I-L-L.
No objection, Judge.
Go ahead, Ms. Wolford.
Yes, sir. Going down under the financial status to where it says estimated total debts. In the second line, it says a second mortgage was taken out to pay for their home. That should say legal expenses, not home.
No objection.
How much was that mortgage?
Tim, on a serious note, why is this all so important? Is this just because it preserves on the record?
It could go to a fine, or the court can impose a fine. But you want the report, it goes with her to the
Yes,
Bureau
sir.
of
The same
Prisons.
section where it states remarks, 3 lines down, it says husband's dental practice. That's incorrect. The dental practice was not providing income prior to her arrest. She was only receiving Social Security assistance.
It was only providing income to the hitmen.
And Katie.
They were paying the mortgage or
You're
rent
just
on
asking
that high
husband's
rise.
dental practice to be scratched through.
That's correct. The only income was. they
On that
listed
high
Social
rise through
Security,
Social
they listed
Security
both.
payments. They have a different arrangement with the Social Security Administration than others I know.
They don't want Social Security to come back at her,
Anything else?
On page 7, Your Honor,
right?
about halfway down the page, it has the remarks section. And if you go 1, 2, 3 lines from the bottom where it's listing grandchildren, on the right, it has a child's name, 14, and then it says a female, 7. That's actually a male.
No objection.
Right. Any other objections?
Not from the defense.
The court has reviewed the PSI report. And at this time, I will direct the clerk to file it as a part of the record. Ms. Kappelman, do you have any other witnesses or evidence that you wish to present as a part of your presentation today?
I have some documentation regarding cost of prosecution, Judge. Would you like that at this time?
Yes.
The state has put together a summary page and a thumb drive. We are requesting $723,123.68 in restitution. Defense advised that they want supporting documentation regarding this request. which is contained on this thumb drive. They're just receiving it today. So have not had an opportunity to review it. I think at this time, the parties are in agreement to ask Your Honor to order cost of prosecution and reserve regarding the amount, and we'll see if we can reach an agreement regarding the amount.
Very well.
So that's one item that's in dispute for today. Another issue, Judge, is the score sheet. I've prepared 2 score sheets. May I approach again?
You may.
First includes death points, bringing the lowest permissible prison sentence in months to 172.5. The second does not include the death points, bringing the lowest permissible prison sentence in months to 82.5. Brought to my attention yesterday that the defense objects to the inclusion of the death points. The limited research that I've had an opportunity to do suggests that they should be included if the death was a direct result of the crime. I believe it was. The defense wants to argue otherwise, so whichever score sheet Your Honor chooses to go with, they're provided there for you. The state is requesting, are you ready for me to argue what I want per sentence? Okay.
Go ahead.
Obviously life on count 1, Judge. We would ask for 30 years consecutive to count 1 on count 2, and 30 years concurrent to count 2, but also consecutive to count 1 on count 3.
Right.
I do not have any additional testimony or other evidence to provide, Your Honor.
You may note
We've had this
all-
issue of the death points being attached to the non-homicide offenses come up in other cases. Certainly the death points would attach if there were an offense that were being scored, but the first-degree murder is not being scored on the score sheet. What would be the basis, Ms. Kappelman?
That the death resulted from the conspiracy. It wasn't just a conspiracy without a death. It was a conspiracy that directly resulted in a death, hence the death points are appropriate.
What is the defense's argument concerning the score sheet?
I'm doing my best, Your Honor, dealing with the weather for the last week or so. It's the same argument that was made on behalf of Dr. Adelson post-conviction. Your Honor granted the correction of the score sheet. Solicitation and conspiracy do not require an actual death. And I'll just rely on the same cases that were relied on by Dr. Adelson. State versus Jansen, 561 Southern 2nd, 1321. The crime, quote from that case, the crime of solicitation is completed when the actor, with intent to do so, has enticed or encouraged another to commit a crime. The crime need not be completed. And then in Becky v. State, 423 Southern 2nd, 417, second DCA, crime of conspiracy consists of 2 necessary elements: an agreement, 1, and 2, an intention to commit the offense. Once the intent is formed and the agreement is made, the conspiracy is complete. Just like Your Honor did in Charlie Adelson's case, by order that was not opposed by the Attorney General's office. I believe that order is dated January 24th, 2025. Your Honor agreed with that position and ordered the state to prepare a corrected score sheet of death points.
Well, Ms. Kappelman, my memory of this is in line with the defense position. Certainly, if the state wishes to take any appeal concerning the score sheet, that is your choice.
Understood, Judge.
Death points will not be added to the score sheet that is signed by the court. Is the defense ready to proceed with its presentation?
Yes, Judge.
You may proceed.
Thank you.
That's just the score
Yeah,
sheet.
here
That's
on
not
the podium.
statutory max.
You may remain at the table, or you can come to the lectern, whichever.
Okay, thank you, Judge. I guess we would start with the witnesses that we have. The one that's standing by on Zoom is Dr. Ben Graber, who would like to make a statement on behalf of Mrs. Adelson.
Dr. Graber, if you at this time can please turn on your microphone. Please raise your right hand, sir. Dr. Graber, if you can raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're going to provide today will be the truth? I believe you have a volume problem, Dr. Graber. I can see your lips moving, but I can't hear you.
Every one of their friends that's 75 or older will not be able to figure out how to use Zoom, I bet. A la Carm.
Now that's quite an ageist comment.
You're the exception, Joe Potuto.
Well, I was thinking of Einstein and others who certainly could learn how to
Yes,
do
just
it.
so I can test that we do have proper audio. Dr. Graber, before you get started, Mr. Markel, if you can turn on your microphone and say 1, 2, 3 for me so I can test this audio. All right, he's not coming through either. Time to troubleshoot.
So it appears to be the system, not the witness, Joel.
It's not the age, it's the system.
Yeah, and you can't do it either. And are you over 75?
No, I can't do anything.
What a
about it.
comment to me. God. You should be ashamed of yourself.
I am a little bit.
Yes, but I didn't know what I was just.
Carm's actually gotten pretty good.
While they're playing with this, Tim, did she include or
Dr.
needed to?
Graber, if you can say 1, 2, 3 while I test this equipment. All right, I can hear you now, but we can't get them over the loudspeaker. At least someone wants to switch the audio settings.
Do they practice this beforehand? You should
No.
always do that with tech. Tim, did they?
My
or-
mic's fine. It's the witnesses need to be heard.
Did they what?
Did they or should they have listed the expenses from last year with the aborted prosecution? Remember, he said they were all going to be applied.
Thank you, Mr. Markel. I'm going to place you
Donna.
back on mute at this
We
point.
don't know. We haven't seen the backup,
Okay.
but they should have.
Unless they already paid them. I mean, that was done and it didn't matter whether she got convicted or anything. She was due those, wasn't she?
Yeah, that's right. That was because of the
Dr.
conflict.
Graber, try to talk for me one more time. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. 1,
There we
2,
go.
3.
Judge and a Radio Shack, man, all in one. All right.
Spoke too soon.
It is. Let me swear you in again, sir. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you will give today will be the truth?
I do.
You can lower your head. If you're examining the witness, or is he reading a statement?
He's going to present a statement, Judge.
Dr. Graber, you may proceed at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak on behalf of Donna Adelson. If I can, let me just brief description of who I am, my background. I've been a friend of the Adelson family since 1979. First 20 years I knew them, we were actively engaged in many activities. The last 20 years, I haven't seen them that much until this trial became apparent to me. And my background is I'm a medical doctor practicing obstetrics and gynecology, 45 years here in Florida. I was also a state legislature from 1988 to 96, representing Coral Springs and parts of Broward County. I was the county commissioner in Broward County and mayor of Broward County for 1 year in 2006. Also a professor at the University of Florida, medical school, and the University of Miami Medical School in clinical OBGYN. And I'm here to speak today on behalf of Donna Adelson, the person I've known for a great deal of time. Hi Donna, just want to say hi. I'm sorry I can't be there to hug you. And I'm sorry we didn't get to have that dinner after your trial was over. But I'm here to, on your behalf, to let you know that you have friends, and I believe in you. Let me say that I never thought we'd be here at this situation when I first met you. It was a total shock to me and to our families. And it's a tragedy for me to have to be here to talk about this. I feel very bad for your family, for the Markel family, for the tragedy everyone's experiencing. To me, I've been following this for 2 years. It appears to be a dissolution of two families. My background is similar in many ways to both families. Like Ruth Markel, I'm the son of Holocaust survivors. I actually was born in Germany at a displaced persons camp. Came to the United States at the age of 18 months. So like the boys, Lincoln and Benjamin, I don't have a lot of recollection from the first beginning of my time in the United States, but they don't have the recollection of their father, which is very sad to me. But they do have families, and I had family. And we have to learn a great deal from our tragedies how to come back into life. My distress is not just for Donna and the Adelsons, but for the Markels as well, and especially for 3 generations of each family, which I see in tragic downward swing. And yet, I did meet Lincoln and Benjamin at the bar mitzvah last year.
That's
I
got
got to make
nothing to
those
do
2
with
boys
it.
wonderful boys. Unfortunately, I never got to meet Dan Markel, but I have read many of his articles. Very impressive, very brilliant, very talented man who made some very good points about the law and about compassion in the law, which he felt could be improved. And I agree with that. So part of what I'd like to say today is basically that I do believe that Donna is a victim of not just circumstance, but has been actively exploited by parties involved in this case. I believe she was exploited by her son. Knowing Donna, who was the youngest child in her family, and knowing her mother, and how close she was with her mother, and understanding their love and need for family, it makes no sense to me that she would pursue an activity that will destroy 2 families like it has. However, having known her son and some of his issues, I believe Donna, in her own naive way, trying to be a loving mother, is subdued by guilt, by silence, by denial, and perhaps even active exploitation, and used for activities she had no part of. So I believe she's innocent on all 3 counts, even though she was found guilty on all 3 counts. Part of my understanding is also that the victims here are both families, and to watch the hate and distress and the vengeance I see is a terrible thing to look at. As Holocaust survivors, you'd think we would understand that how damaging it is to families. I would have to say, my background, I grew up in the Bronx, went to the public school system. I actually was at Queens College when Donna was there, but I didn't know her. She graduated a year after I did. My wife, Sandy, graduated from Queens College as well. When we got to Coral Springs, we met up after being there a while. New, young families, professionals trying to build a life, having children, building the community, which we did. So to see this situation occur, to me, is devastating in many aspects. As a legislator, I can tell you that we see things in the law. Even though I'm a doctor and I was chairman of healthcare, I was a Democrat, majority leader, and I sat on Judiciary Committee for 2 years. I understand the laws. Even wrote some of the sentencing guidelines and participated in passing them at that time. What I learned over the years was that I had the privilege of passing many laws, because I was a leader and was able to work both sides. And so many of my laws exist in the books. I get calls from judges periodically asking me about the intent of the law when I wrote it, because they have a case and it's come down to what did you intend to happen from this law. And they would ask my opinion, and they would use that information. So I'd like to look a little bit about the intent of the judicial guidelines for sentencing. I think the life without parole is a very harsh sentence. And that was not the intent, was to punish domestic cases with that, but to hit drug dealers and organized crime and dangerous to the public. But I think it's been switched over to be used in conspiracy theories against the average citizen, which is not the intent of the law, in my opinion. Second of all, I think that it's unfortunate that this case has gone into so many new victims. And we've already, you have 4 victims who have been found guilty of murder. 2 have committed the murder, maybe 1. The other are conspiracy theories. And I would believe that I would suggest that needs to be reviewed by the legislature. That's my opinion. Now, in this case,
Dr. Graber, before you continue,
Thank you, Judge.
is this being offered as character? Because he is not an expert on the law.
It's character, Judge.
It's not
Very well. You may continue, Doctor.
yes, that's my opinion from my background. That's not, I'm not giving a professional opinion, I'm giving my personal opinion from experience. What I'm asking the court today is, to me, the court, the judicial system, the power of the judicial system is in the judge. And it is the judge who is the presenter of a safety net for the public. To show some compassion when the cold written law, with every box checked off, shows no compassion, where does the compassion come from? It should come from the judge, it should come from the jury. And I think that that's something we have to consider. So at this point, what I'm saying is that I believe Donna Adelson was a 5-star mother, did everything she could do for her kids, for her family, for her community. She has no bad intentions. She's not a leader, she's a baby in her family. She's always been a follower. Yes, she makes noise and she complains, but that's not her behavior. This is not her profile. So I understand that nothing can be changed, but I want to put on record that I believe she is innocent of these 3 counts, and we believe her. With that, I would have to say, sometimes bad things happen to good people, and I think this is one of those cases, and it's unfortunate. For the families, I would beg them, think about the 2 boys. Dan is not here, but a piece of him is here, and those 2 boys. And their future, they're both teenagers now, their future depends a lot on what's going on here, and how they're going to be perceived in the future, and how they will interpret the future based on this. So I think it's time for some compassion, some understanding, some forgiving. Perhaps it's time to take a step back and let everyone heal from this process. With that, I say to you, to Donna, Samuel, I love you, we support you and the family, and we hope you the best. God bless you. And Your Honor, thank you for letting me speak.
Defense have an examination for the witness.
No, Judge.
Does the state have an examination for the witness?
No, sir.
Dr. Graber, you can remain on the Zoom. I would just ask you to mute yourself at this point.
Thank you.
Defense have any other witnesses to present or evidence?
Yes, Judge. We have Rick Shagrin, who's present, who would like to make a brief statement.
He testified at the trial.
Yeah, he's sitting next to Harvey, isn't he?
Yeah.
Or was?
Please raise your right hand, sir. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you will give today will be the truth?
I do.
You can lower your hand. You may direct the witness or you may give a statement.
If you could state your full name, please.
My name is Richard Gordon Shagrin.
And have you prepared a statement here today?
Yes, I have.
Okay, you can give that to the court at this time.
This is on behalf of myself and my wife, Susan Brotman, an attorney at law. We have known Donna Adelson for over 35 years. She's been a dear friend and travel companion, and we are still in shock of her current circumstances. We know her to be a loving parent, wife, and grandparent. We stand behind her claim of innocence. We feel the trial was held in a county where there's been a lot of bad and inaccurate negative publicity, therefore not allowing a fair trial. We contend if a change of venue was granted, she would have been found not guilty. We are hopeful she will be relocated to South Florida, where she can pursue all legal remedies available. Thank you very much for your consideration.
These are character statements or quibbling about the evidence and the rulings?
Yeah, Judge, they're here to talk about their friendship and time. Thank you.
Any witness examination for Mr. Chagrin?
No, Your Honor.
You may be seated. Any other witnesses?
Insulting the
We
judge.
did provide to the court, if you received your copy, Judge, some very short letters that were written as character support on behalf of Mrs. Adelson, if I may go through those at this time.
Go ahead.
Thank you. The first letter that was submitted to the court was by Annie Cunningham and Ronald Gutterson, who testified at trial. They say, "We are writing this letter to restate our knowledge and feelings regarding Donna Adelson. We have known Donna since 2009 and consider her to be our dearest friend. Donna is a kind, caring, loving person. She was always concerned with the welfare of others. She is not the monster portrayed by the media. Donna is incapable of threatening or harming anyone. Donna is almost 76 years old and in frail health after almost 2 years of incarceration. We will always believe her to be innocent and ask the court to take these factors into consideration when deciding Donna's sentence." Next, we submitted to the court was one of her longtime friends, Ruth Rosenberg, who wrote, "I immigrated to the USA from Israel when I was 1 month shy of 12. I lived in Israel in a town of 5,000 inhabitants where my family knew almost everyone and came to New York City, Queens, with a population of close to 8 million residents. To say it was a culture shock is an understatement. I didn't speak any English and physically looked like an underdeveloped child in comparison to the American girls my age. I entered the 7th grade in September, not knowing any English, the, quote, stranger in school. For several months, I sat by myself at lunchtime in the cafeteria, staring at the next table, where Donna and a group of her friends were conversing, laughing, and having a nice time. One day, Donna walked over to my table and asked me if I would like to join them, and of course I said yes, please. That kind gesture started a 62-plus year friendship. She invited me to her house to meet her family, and over time we became like sisters. I can recall several instances where Donna helped me obtain a job so I can help my parents financially. She introduced me to a family in a bungalow colony in the Catskills who needed a mother's helper for their daughters in the summer of '66. The money I earned helped my parents pay for the closing costs on their house. The following summer, she got me a job as a counselor at Camp Allegra in the Berkshires. When I had to decide on a career path, I consulted with Harvey and Donna about applying to dental school as my college advisor had recommended. Later that year, I was chosen to be the maid of honor at their wedding. We remained close friends throughout the years, even though we lived more than 1,000 miles apart. Our families visited each other periodically, making sure that our children and grandchildren got to know each other. We attended life cycle events of our children, bat and bar mitzvahs, weddings, special birthdays, etc., and now our grandchildren's. Donna has always been a kind-hearted, generous, loving, and caring. She is one of my best friends, and I will forever remember and appreciate how she helped me with English while I helped her with math in Parsons Junior High School, and remained loyal through these 62-plus years. The situation she is in today is unimaginable to me. That is not the person I know and love. We also submitted a letter from Ron Ellis to the court. My name is Ron Ellis, and I have had the privilege of knowing Donna Adelson for more than 30 years. I am writing to you in hope of offering some perspective on the woman I have come to know so well over the course of our long friendship. Donna has been a steady and caring presence in my life. When my stepson passed away 11 years ago at the age of 34, Donna was there for me in ways I will never forget. She sat with me in my grief, listened when I needed to talk, and offered comfort when I felt overwhelmed. That kindness and empathy is the Donna I know. Someone who shows up for her friends and offers strength in their darkest moments. Over the years, I have seen Donna's compassion extend beyond just me. She has been a devoted mother, a loyal friend, and someone who consistently tried to bring warmth and generosity to those around her. I understand fully the gravity of the situation before the court, but I hope that when you consider Donna's sentence, you will also weigh the years of kindness, care, and humanity she has shown to others. I believe that Donna still has the ability to contribute positively, even under these circumstances, and that she is capable of reflection and growth. I respectfully ask that you take these qualities into account when you make your decision. Thank you for your time and consideration. Respectfully, Ron Ellis. And then a brief letter from Marion and Tim Schaffman. She writes, "We have known Donna for over 50 years, and although we live far apart and have seen her often over the years, we wanted to share with you our impressions of the lovely person we have known. Donna has always been a loving, kind mother and wife, and also an exemplary daughter to her parents, who often stayed with their family. We have never heard her utter a negative word about anyone, and had tremendous pride in every member of her family. She retained many friends from her childhood and developed long, satisfying friendships with the new people she met throughout each stage of her life. Donna was always intelligent, charismatic, and sensitive to everyone. She always listened to anyone's problems and offered a helping hand when she could. Most notably, her genuine concern over our and others' health issues was truly appreciated. As you can see, it is very difficult for us to view her as anybody other than the sweet, caring person we knew. Sincerely, Marianne and Ted Schaffman." Next is a letter from Jessica Ussery. "Dear Judge Everett, my name is Jessica Ussery, and I am writing this letter to express my personal experiences and knowledge of Donna Adelson's character. Donna and I share a beloved grandson, Roman Harvey Adelson, born in 2017. My first memory of Donna is a video made and shared on Mother's Day 2017. Charlie Adelson surprised his mom with the news that he and my daughter, Brianna, were expecting a baby. It warmed my heart to watch Donna's genuine excitement and happiness caught on video. Our families began spending time together as events and celebrations took place. I recall Donna being warm and welcoming. As I got to know her more, there was no doubt in my mind that she was a loving and devoted wife, mother, and grandmother. Roman's birth was a scheduled cesarean section on December the 5th. On that day, I was overcome with mixed emotions of excitement and fear. A family awaited Roman's birth at the hospital during unnerving procedure. Donna was affectionate and compassionate, as I was visibly anxious and emotional. I will always remember how she reassured and calmed me that day. We shared tears of joy and the hugs when a beautiful and healthy boy came into this world. Donna was caring and supportive of Bree as a new mom. I have many fond memories of time spent with the Adelsons. Although Charlie and Bree were no longer a couple beyond Roman's first year, we all remained close. Donna has been kind, thoughtful, loving, and generous. Thank you sincerely for taking the time to read the letter, Jessica Ussery." And then a short letter to whom it may concern. "I've worked at Adelson Institute for Aesthetic and Implant Dentistry from October 3rd, 2011 to September of 2022. During my time of working there, I had the opportunity to experience the beautiful person that Donna Adelson is. Through my time of working often side by side with her, I've witnessed her grace and ability to diffuse upset patients. She is incredible with having compassion for others and is truly one of the sweetest people I know. She's so supportive and understanding when it comes to her employees. When an elderly person comes in as a patient, she always made sure they had assistance, whether needing help filling out forms or even opening the reception door for them. She always jumped at the opportunity to be kind and helpful. I witnessed this and I know it was sincere. I still use what I've learned from her and apply it while I'm at work every day. I recognize the gravity of the situation and understand the seriousness of the legal process, but I respectfully ask that you consider the positive qualities that define her. Sincerely, Erica Johnson." And then the last letter that we submitted from was Attorney Gary Cohn. He said, My name is Gary Cohen. I've been a member in good standing of the Florida Bar since 1980. I have known Donna and Harvey Adelson as personal friends and personal counsel for almost 40 years. Harvey was also my dentist for most of those years. I have been in the Adelson house, and they have been in mine numerous times over the years since their children were little ones. My wife and I have socialized with Harvey and Donna at dinners, blessed events such as bar and bat mitzvahs, and weddings, birthdays, and many other occasions. I've also traveled with them, including a wonderful trip to Africa with 2 of my sons several years ago. I therefore have had a unique opportunity to observe Donna under many circumstances. In all the time I have known her, I have literally never heard Donna raise her voice, lose her temper, act inappropriately, or treat anyone with less than full respect, and almost always with a smile on her face. I have never heard a bad word said about Donna from any other friend or person in my presence. She has always been an amazing mother to her children, and she and Harvey have had the most loving marriage that can be imagined. While I cannot comment on any of the facts of this case or any of the alleged events, I can say that the Donna I know is the last person I would ever think of when it comes to what has been this utterly horrible crime dealing with the death of Dan Markel. Being a trial lawyer for 45 years, I fully believe in the jury system and understand that a jury has spoken. However, the woman I've known so well for so long also needs to be understood as the wonderful wife, mother, grandmother, and friend that she has been known to me. I only hope that this information can be of use to the court when it comes to the sentencing of Donna Adelson, Gary Cohen. At this time, I believe that Mrs. Adelson's husband, Harvey Adelson, would like to address the court.
Very well. Do you wish to enter these letters into evidence?
Yes, Judge.
Does the state have any objections?
No, Your Honor.
They will be composite defense 1 for Jansen.
Thank you, Judge.
Dr. Adelson, please raise your right hand, sir. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes, I do.
You can lower your hand. You may speak.
Thank you, Judge, and respected officers of the court for allowing me to speak. I have been Donna Adelson's husband for over 50 years. My wife sacrificed everything so that she could pour her heart and soul into our children, our grandchildren, and our marriage. This summer was our 54th wedding anniversary, and I had to spend it without her, hand in mind. She has done nothing wrong, and yet is being punished for a crime that she did not commit. I thought we lived in a different kind of world, but I guess I was wrong. I have listened, watched, and sat in the courtroom for the entire trial, and I could not help but scream in my mind by the witnesses that were brought forward by the prosecution who told outright lies. I didn't know that you could lie in a courtroom, but apparently you can. Danny's parents contend that they have never seen their grandchild. But for years they say they've never seen her. But Wendi has shared with me pictures and videos and letters from their visits. They have suffered immensely at the loss of their son, but they also contend to tell lies to the court about our grandchildren. Donna has always been a loving and caring wife and is innocent of the charges. A biased judge and jury were influenced by years of one-sided news pieces and social media.
Doctor, Ms. Fulford, this has nothing to do with the character of the defendant or relates to sentencing.
May I just one moment, please?
Go ahead.
That's a way to influence somebody. Call them biased.
Literally
Insult the
calls out
judge in all court proceedings before that guy sentences you.
Well, the other one did the same thing. If they'd been tried, each had been tried somewhere else, she would have been acquitted.
Yeah. Obviously, Jackie didn't go over the statement to make sure you always do that when someone's reading a character, especially a spouse.
She was too busy looking over the typos in the pre-sentence report.
That's just.
This is what you call chutzpah and stupidity combined.
I guess he's done.
I mean, he just got up there and literally called out Judge Everett.
Yep.
And
now
the
he's trying to
jury,
stare him. Now he's trying to stare him down.
Yeah,
And the jury.
you let liars come in this courtroom and lie.
and the witnesses, and the
Yeah.
prosecutor for putting on lying witnesses,
Yeah. And the Markels.
and the
For lo-
media, and the
Yeah.
Markels, and the people in the gallery. Yeah,
Yeah, all of them.
us.
Mm,
That's chutzpah.
that
Oh,
is
yeah.
chutzpah. Here we go. Jackie, just like read this last line. That's all you can read. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Judge.
All right, thank you for letting me continue. Donna did not participate in the heinous acts that she was convicted of doing.
We're back to
You're
this.
sending an innocent woman to prison. You have taken my wife and you have taken my life as well. And for what? This is not justice. It is vengeance, and it is wrong.
You have an examination for Dr. Adelson.
No, Your Honor. No, Judge.
Any other witness statements that you wish to give?
I don't believe so, just one second.
That's terrible.
Well, after that, Donna doesn't have to say anything.
He literally had a multi-page statement, and Jackie just.
We don't have any further witnesses, Judge, but Mrs. Adelson has decided she would like to make an unsworn statement
okay.
to the court.
Here we go.
Unsworn?
Yes, Judge.
Unsworn?
All of the witnesses will be sworn this afternoon if she wishes to speak.
Judge, case law indicates, confirms that the defendant has the right to make an unsworn statement prior to sentencing. The court, Rule 3.720B states the court shall entertain submissions of evidence by the parties that are relevant to the sentence. A number of cases, Your Honor, that have interpreted this, especially in a capital case, as the defendant having a right to make an unsworn statement. This is a capital.
Please give the citations.
Yes, Your Honor. Excuse me. First is Smith versus State, 268 Southern 3rd, 831. It's from the first DCA in 2019. You want me to continue, Your Honor?
Give me one moment.
Yes, sir.
Bringing up my Westlaw. Read the citation again.
Sure. It's 268 Southern 3rd, 831.
Joe, I had friends ask me if this was a Saturday Night Live skit.
Sadly, it's not. Tim, have you seen this in court where they asked for an
Which
unsworn statement?
pinpoint site are you referring to?
No, I have not.
It's not, let's see.
Joe Potuto,
Your Honor,
you're the
I'm gonna
case
give you
law
this one.
expert. So what does the
So,
judge
Hill
have to
versus
do
State,
now?
246 Southern 3rd, 392.
If the
Fourth
case
District Court of
says
Appeal.
One moment.
what the
Yes, sir.
defense says the case
246
says, yes,
Southern
follow
3rd
it.
is the last part.
392.
But I don't know why an unsworn, Tim, if it's unsworn, does that mean Georgia can't cross-examine if she wanted to?
Well, I think she does have a right to cross-examine.
Even unsworn?
Well, that maybe not. Depends on what she says.
Because what's the reason for doing an unsworn statement?
She can't use it against her in appeal or future trial if she gets one.
Why not on appeal? She said it on the record. You can use other statements on the record against her. Why not this?
That's going to be interesting to see. He didn't ask any of George if she wanted to ask any questions of the other witnesses, did he?
Yeah, he did.
Where it does
He did.
say the defendant
And she
has a
declined
right to make
every
an
time.
unsworn
And they were
statement.
sworn. That's right, he did. They were sworn. Maybe that's why they don't want Georgia to cross.
She can remain at council table.
Thank you, I'm gonna move the microphone.
Well, that was the only thing I could think of.
Oh, she's got pages. Look at this.
We're going to be here a while. What's the quote in that Betty Davis movie? Hold on to your...
Is this loud enough, Judge?
I can hear you.
Thank you for letting me speak. My son-in-law, Dan Markel, was a fine and decent man.
Oh, my God.
He was well-educated and passionate about his career. He was a good son-in-law, but more importantly, he was a caring and loving father. On July 18th, 2014, his car was followed, leaving his home. It should have been just like any other day, an ordinary day in the life of Ben and Lincoln's father, but it wasn't. He didn't know when he left his boys off at daycare that would be the last time he would see them, and the last time they would see him. He didn't know when he went to the gym afterwards that would be the last time he would exercise. And he didn't know when he drove home that his life would end within minutes. Danny wasn't just being followed, he was being hunted. He was brutally murdered in broad daylight, sitting in his car, in his garage, by vicious killers. I cannot imagine the terror he felt when he saw a gun pointed at him through the window of his car. I cannot conceive of his heroic efforts to stay alive during the hours after the attack. Danny died in the early morning hours of July 19th. His death is a loss to his children, his parents, his sister, all of us in his family, his friends, his colleagues in the legal community, and to his students at FSU Law School. Danny's boys each have a photo of themselves with their Abba, their dad, beside their beds. They grew up kissing the framed photo and saying, "Good night, Abba, I love you." The pictures and memories are all they have because cruel, cold-hearted people took him from all of us who loved him. My heart was broken when Danny died. My grandsons were going to grow up without the father who loved them. I wondered, how could we help these boys through this trauma? It was then that my husband and I knew that the best way to honor Danny's memory would be to share with these children an abundance of love, the love that Danny would have given them if he were alive. It is interesting how the state can't make up its mind about who is what they call the, quote, mastermind behind this murder. In both of Catherine Magbanaw's trials, the state claimed she was the mastermind behind Danny's murder. In my son Charlie Adelson's trial, they claimed he was the mastermind. And now in my trial, they claimed that I, this grandma, was the mastermind behind the murder. I had no idea that other people planned to cut Danny's life short. And the people who did this are exactly where they deserve to be, but I had no knowledge that this horrible, evil act was going to take place. If I had become aware of this plan before Danny was murdered, I would have stopped it. With not one iota of actual evidence, the state convinced a Tallahassee jury that I solicited and conspired with other people to have Danny killed. Where is the evidence prior to the murder? The evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that the state needed to prove their case. Where is the evidence before July 18th, 2014 at 10:50 in the morning?
Before you continue,
that
Mrs.
revealed-
Adelson, as it relates to this statement, is the defense trying to re-argue the trial?
No, Judge, just giving Adelson an opportunity to be heard.
Mrs. Adelson, you certainly can continue. However, the court can take into consideration the utter lack of remorse that you are displaying. Please proceed if you desire to do so.
Where is the evidence before July 18th, 2014 at 10:50 a.m. that revealed that I had any involvement in this vile and horrific act? Where is the solicitation and conspiracy evidence? The state needed to show that there was evidence before the murder to convict me. The state couldn't show that because there wasn't any evidence. They were trying an innocent person. It makes you wonder if the jurors were sleeping when the state had Sergeant Corbett on the stand for hours. Their own star witness testified that my phone was never, I repeat, never at my son's house on the night of the murder. The state's theory that my husband and I dropped off money to my son was blown out of the water by their own witness. And yet, the state continued to push that story, that lie of the so-called money drop to the jury through the remainder of the trial. And the jury bought into it, hook, line, and sinker. Reasonable doubt. Many months ago, my attorneys filed a motion for a change of venue. An expert witness testified that Tallahassee had been barraged with over 9 years of negative social media, printed news, television news, and podcast publicity about my family. He explained to the court, both with evidence and demonstratives, that for me to receive a fair trial, it needed to be held in any of the researched and designated areas in the state of Florida other than Tallahassee. All I wanted was a level playing field, but the court wanted the trial here in the hotbed of Tallahassee. I sat through 3 days of jury selection. 180 potential jurors were asked if they had developed an opinion in my case. Those that answered yes also added, I believe she is guilty. Not one person, not one, said, I think she may be innocent. That should have been a clue to the court to grant our motion for a change of venue, but the court denied the motion. One of my jurors admitted during jury selection that she had background information concerning what one of the state's witnesses would be testifying about. Why was she allowed to be on my jury?
What moment?
Another juror.
Mrs. Fulford,
Oh, I didn't hear you.
Mr. Zellman, again, this has nothing to do with elocution of any sort. This is a raising of grievances, which are properly given to the appellate court. What does any of this have to do with sentencing?
Just one moment, please.
So change of venue is going to be an issue on appeal, apparently.
Well, you know, the lawyers had no control over their client or their witnesses. They should have seen this. They should have read what she was going to read and told her, you can't read that. But they didn't. They just let her free reel, and now they're looking at it.
And she should be the last person on earth you do that with. I mean, this is just a disgrace. I mean, she's publicly, called out the Markels, the judge, the
Turn
jury.
that phone off or step out.
This is
Better
a
than-
Saturday Night Live skit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Better them than me with that phone going off.
No, it isn't, because I laugh at them and I'm not finding this funny.
Yeah. Here's Melba Pearson, who teaches law at FIU, a friend of the show, been following this case. Melba, you're coming in midstream here, but this is Donna offering up her own statement, and the judge now stepping in, essentially saying she's just airing grievances. She's thrown everybody under the bus, basically crying, poor me. What do you make of it real quick before the judge steps back in here?
Well, as other guests said, this is not appropriate. All she should have been saying is, you know, I didn't do this, or whatever the case may be. Please take pity on me. I have kids, you know, whatever. You usually use this time to humanize yourself and hope for the judge to be easier on you and show some kind of remorse or something like that. Airing grievances, this is not the place. Her attorney should have counseled her otherwise. That this is not a good look.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, she had her husband do it, so she could have referred to him and then taken a different tack rather than, you know, second everything he said plus.
But by the way, Joe, I missed it, so I assume they let her start unsworn, right? Because I didn't hear her getting sworn in.
Yeah, and he found the case law supported it. And the only thing I could think of, and I think Tim, when we talked about it, agreed, was it looks like it means Georgia can't cross her even if Georgia wanted to, because it's not under oath.
What happened to Danny is unforgivable. But I am an innocent woman convicted of this terrible crime without evidence. Danny was a brilliant legal scholar. He would have been appalled at the total lack of justice that went on during my trial. He would have been embarrassed to have his name associated with any of it. There are two crimes here. The first was Danny being viciously murdered. The second one is taking my life, the life of an innocent woman. Convicting me should not be retribution for Danny's death. That is not justice for Dan. I've always respected the law. I've never gotten a parking ticket, but I'm going to prison for a murder I did not commit.
Brilliant.
I do intend to file an appeal so that hopefully I have the opportunity to be given a fair trial outside of Tallahassee. 11 years ago, Danny was murdered and taken from all of us who loves him. For the past 9.5 years, the state has broadcast to the world, including Danny's parents and sister, that I hired hitmen to kill him. Never in a million years would I have wanted Danny to be harmed or killed, nor could I ever do something that would leave these two small boys to grow up without him. I love these boys more than life itself. This is a lifetime of loss for these children. They didn't deserve this. His family didn't deserve this. Danny didn't deserve this. And so, as I appear before you today, Your Honor, I promise you with my whole heart, I swear to you on my life, I was not involved in any way with Danny's murder. I was not.
Defense have any further argument to make?
It's also not a good idea to take the victim and say the victim would have supported you.
Right.
Comment that the court made a few moments ago considering lack of remorse and fashioning a sentence. Shepherd v. State 227 Southern 3rd 746, the First District Court of Appeal held that lack of remorse cannot be considered in fashioning an appropriate sentence. If this were a situation where remorse and admission of guilt may be grounds for mitigation, the lack of these factors cannot be used to increase the defendant's sentence, and such violates the defendant's due process rights. And they also rely on Ritter v. State 885 Southern 2nd 413, also a first DCA case.
I believe the Supreme Court has ruled on this issue concerning remorse and lack of showing remorse as well. If you need me to find the citation for you, I will.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
We'll take a 10-minute break.
Jeez.
This once before, citing appellate cases, older appellate cases when there were newer ones that were against them. Now they missed the Supreme Court case on the question, according to the judge. Amazing.
The judge wouldn't say that if he didn't have a Supreme Court site.
I think that's right.
Judges go to school. They are learned and told what they can use, what they can't use. And if he says there's a Supreme Court, I believe there's probably a Supreme Court.
Oh, didn't he get off the bench to find it for them?
He's going to.
Yeah, because they all have, usually most judges have basically a bench book, which has a lot of good information there, and they go to like judicial college every year. Right. So yeah, they don't play when it comes to that. They know exactly the parameters, especially when you're having a criminal sentencing, which is something they do on a regular basis. So yeah, I'm thinking I'm gonna side on the judge having the correct information.
Yeah. For those who are just joining us, we're now awaiting official sentencing. There were statements given, obviously the latest one by Donna Adelson, and previous to her, her husband, Harvey. We're going to go around the horn in a second. Just want to make sure. So Melba Pearson is an attorney who teaches at FIU, that you guys all know each other. Joe Potuto, professor emerita, University of Nebraska Law School. And so now we have two professors here. And then you've got the famed Tallahassee criminal defense attorney, former federal prosecutor, R. Timothy Jansen. So, Tim, let me just start with you. You're in the courtroom day in and day out. How, I guess, out of character is what we've seen up to this point, minus the sentencing?
Well, there's looks like there's no preparation. There's no professionalism by the defense team whatsoever. They didn't look at any of the character letters. They didn't screen any of them. They let Ben Graber get up there and talk about himself as much as he talked about any character. They attacked the law. They attacked the judge. They attacked the proceedings. And then the husband gets up and attacks the Markels, saying they lied about not seeing the grandkids. And then they let their client get up there and start yelling that I didn't get a fair trial, I'm innocent, and fought not to have her under oath. I don't think they took it serious. I think they have no client control. I'm not sure they even prepared, other than looked at a couple cases, which apparently now may be overturned by a Supreme Court, which in Florida is the highest court in the state of Florida. And a first-year law student would know any appellate case, no matter how old, if a Florida Supreme Court later overrules it, then you lose, right? I don't need to tell two professors that, but that's how it works.
We're on a 10-minute break here, so I'm just gonna go around for a little bit, and then on the backside of the actual sentencing, we'll go into a little more depth for as much time as Tim, Joe, or Melba have, and then I have to tell you guys, I'm absolutely, I guess, blown away by what I'm watching here. And I want to get a lot of other people's reaction to this who've been coming on the show. So prepare for a week of reacting this week to what we're hearing right now from other people as well who've been close to the case. But Joe Potuto, to you again. So Donna's attorney, and this is kind of no surprise because, you know, there's always special circumstances, it seems, for Donna, and she wants to be allowed to give a statement that is unsworn. And I know you guys were all talking about that, but she literally starts off the first line of her statement after all that is said and done is, my son-in-law, Dan Markel, was a fine and decent man. He was a good son-in-law, caring man. It should have been like any other day. She's talking about the day that she is accused and now convicted in his murder. I mean, if this isn't chutzpah, I don't know what other word fits here. That's a better word. It just, my jaw is dropping, but I guess maybe it shouldn't be, realizing who we're dealing with here. By the way, I mean, keep in mind, she told Wendi, put on the performance of your life. She knows, you know, in her mind that everything hangs in the balance here. So what about that? The fact that she is co-opting Dan Markel's murder here.
Well, I agree with every single thing Tim said, so I'm not going to go repeat repeat them all. I thought it was extraordinary. You cannot redo the facts of the conviction in a witness statement, in a character statement, in your, in your statement before sentencing. Not only are you not supposed to do it, but it's not effective to do it. She attacked everyone, including the judge. Not going to work. She embraced Dan Markel, saying he would not have supported this tragedy, which again is an extraordinary thing to do. So, Joe, I would say I agree with you that it's chutzpah, whatever, quadrupled 100 times, but it's also just plain stupid. Because the question is, what is it you're trying to do before the judge at sentencing? The only explanation I have for it is that she has decided that the judge is going to give her the maximum sentence on conspiracy, so she might as well go, put her finger up against everybody and at least say to her grandchildren and to her friends, I'm an innocent woman who's been maligned and mistreated, and now I'm being railroaded into jail because of this biased judge and this biased community and this stupid jurors, essentially what she said. So that's my comment.
Yeah, Melba, you were kind of giving the yes point to Joe Potuto's comments. Elaborate, please.
Absolutely. I think that they knew going into this was going to be the max. There was no permutation of this where she was walking out without a life sentence, period, end of story. So they're like, throw it all against the wall. What's the worst that can happen? We're taking it all up on appeal. We're probably going to lose on appeal, but might as well air all the grievances now because they're not in a position where they're going to win anything. So knowing that she's going to go to prison for life, the attorney knows that she's going to get sentenced to life. I think they just threw everything they could against the wall and went scorched earth.
Yeah, I mean, is there any issue with the way Judge Everett is handling this? And I mean, I love the guy. I think he's a fantastic judge, but did he need to step in earlier with Donna and maybe say what you're, what what you are stating to the court are just simply grievances. I can't let you go on. Like, was there a point he should have stepped in maybe?
I mean, I think definitely he should have kind of been like, okay, let's focus on what you're here, to talk about. But I think at the same token, he was being cautious because he didn't want to be viewed as, she's not getting her day in court. She's not being able to be fully heard. So I think in his mind, he wanted to make sure to preserve the record and not have any appellate issue, even though he was within his right and ability to intervene. I think in an abundance of caution, he was just like, give her rope and let her hang herself.
Yeah. I'm just looking at my own notes here. She says, Tim Jansen, I don't know if are you on a call, Tim? I don't know if you're in a call. Tim's good, I think.
I'm good.
Yeah, Tim. So Tim runs the show there. He's running his office and appearing on our show. He does it all. And he looks good doing it. Donna literally said Danny, and she's appropriating his nickname, as did Jackie Fulford. Danny was not murdered that day. He was hunted down. I cannot imagine the terror he felt. And I can't conceive of his own heroic attempt to stay alive. I mean, Tim, this is the woman just convicted by a jury of her peers for being the mastermind of his murder. And she's up there talking about his murder, that he was hunted and that she simply had nothing to do with it. I mean, it's just, why even go there when you know that us, the media, the media, and everyone else, I mean, I'm looking at the comments, people are just like incredulous at what she's saying.
Her audience was not the judge. Her audience was not any of your people. Her audience was her friends and the two young boys.
Right.
She wants those two young boys to believe, or at least think, she's not the mass murderer of the murderer of this crime. And that's what she's going for. She knows she's going to get life. They've told her, you're getting life. If you don't get a new trial, you're getting life. And if you don't, you're going to get 30 on both counts. And you saw how the state argued. They wanted counts 1 and 3 to run consecutive, counts 2 and 3 to run concurrent. So if they lose count 1, they're still going to get at least 30 years. Right?
Yeah. Right. I mean, Melba, what do you, Phil and Ruth and Shelley, the parents and the sister are watching this. I know they're watching it. The judge even said that they're on the Zoom. I mean, they've got to just be besides themselves right now.
I cannot even imagine. I cannot even imagine, because they went through the pain of losing their child. Then they had to sit through this brutal trial many times over, because remember, it wasn't just one trial. It was, Charlie's trial. It was the hit people's trial, right, and their testimony and all of that. So they've gone through this so many times over and over again. They had to be present and relive his murder over and over again, and now they got to sit through this foolishness. My heart just breaks and goes out to them, because I can't even imagine how angry and exhausted and just, devastated they are.
All right, we're back in session here.
Review Davis.
Briefly, Your Honor, Davis was not a capital case. This is a capital case. Although the criminal punishment code would only apply to the non-capital cases, I would already submit to Your Honor that it is distinguishable under those circumstances.
Going to read from Head Note 8 and 9. Nor was Davis forced to choose between allocution and maintenance of his innocence. He certainly could have allocuted without voicing his disagreement with the verdict, blaming the driver, the police, his lawyer, the trial court for his conviction, and attempting to explain his personal interpretations of the law to the judge. He could have asked for leniency without admitting guilt. He could have provided the judge with reasons to impose a sentence less than the maximum besides his claimed innocence. But he instead chose to make a lengthy statement claiming innocence, denying responsibility, and placing blame for his conviction on the alleged misconduct of others. The trial court was under no obligation to ignore such statements and did not err in considering those statements and imposing the legal sentence here. Do you have anything that distinguishes Davis in any way?
As I said, Your Honor, Davis was not a capital case.
Very well. Any other argument or evidence the defense wishes to present?
Yes, Judge, thank you.
Please move forward.
Your Honor, we're aware that in count one, the court has no choice but to sentence Mrs. Adelson to life for the first-degree murder charge. We are going to request a downward departure as to counts 2 and counts 3, the solicitation and the conspiracy counts.
What are the grounds?
Pardon me?
What are the grounds?
Yes. The grounds are, one is non-statutory, and that's disparity in the treatment between co-defendants. And the second reason is statutory, and it is Florida Statute 921.00262B. The defendant was an accomplice to the offense and was a relatively minor participant in the criminal conduct.
Minor participant?
And what was the disparate treatment of the other defendants?
The ones that cooperated and testified?
Louis,
Rivera, and Katie. Well, Katie got life.
But they were not similarly situated.
Sub B would be the trial record, or do you have something more specific?
For 4B, we're going to rely on the trial record with respect to the conduct of Mrs. Adelson, and we would ask the court to take judicial notice. Your Honor did preside over Charlie Adelson's trial, and the evidence regarding the other co-defendants' activities or participation was also brought out in the testimony in the trial of Mrs. Adelson, so we'd rely on that record, Judge.
Ms. Kappelman, as to the argued grounds for statutory mitigation and also non-statutory mitigation, does the state have any argument to make?
No, Your Honor.
You may continue.
Thank you, Judge. I'll start with the disparity. Do you need case law citations for this, or you're aware of it, Judge? Okay. The first case would be Sanders v. State, 510 Southern 2nd, 296. This is a Florida Supreme Court case from 1987.
One moment. 510 Southern 2nd. What was the other part of the citation?
I have copies, Your Honor.
296, and that's Florida Supreme Court in 1987.
Go ahead.
State versus Fernandez, 927 Southern 2nd 939, which is a third DCA case from 2006.
You may.
This all should have been done by sentencing memorandums,
Yeah.
pre-trial motions, not at sentencing. They would be thrown out of federal court by a federal judge.
And then the third case, judge is State, I can't pronounce it, but State versus Kunkemoller, 333 Southern 3rd 335. That's a first DCA case from 2022, but it is distinguishable because it does not address the issue of culpability as the first two cases do, but I wanted to bring that to your attention.
Yeah, I definitely would have done a sentencing memo in this one if you have so
Yeah.
many different cases that, you know, you want to give the judge the opportunity to not only read the arguments, read the cases, do their own research. Doing it on the fly like this, to me, is messy. That's not how I've ever conducted my trials.
And one of the few criticisms I have of the state is that on arguments like that, on some of them, they never provide a written response to assist the judge. They trust the judge and it, you know, clearly knows and they can trust him, but not to do that, I think, is a mistake. And this time, not to provide any argument at this hearing. I mean, they may well know what the judge is going to do, but I still think it behooves them to make an argument on behalf of the state. I also think it makes a cleaner record on appeal, frankly.
Yeah.
They've had the state
So-
make an argument.
So, Melba, what does the judge do here? Because now he's getting handed all this case law in real time before he's got to sentence her. I mean, how do you react to this if you're him?
I mean, the best you can do is either A, take a recess and review everything, or unless you know offhand, like right out of hand, that whatever you're going to sentence to, you're fine. You don't have to downward depart everything else. If you feel very confident in your position, because again, I think she's going to get the max, then you just keep moving forward. But normally you would try to get a recess to kind of read and review, or sometimes you have to do a reset if the issues you think are that, you know, major. So, but again, I agree with what both Tim and Joe said, that this is something that's hashed out by memorandum beforehand, and you have a hearing the week before sentencing to kind of hash all this out, so that you're going into literally, it's anything else you need to add, state, anything else you need to add, defense, boom, here's my sentence, let's keep it moving.
You know, they filed all these pretrial motions, so they're capable of filing them. These arguments they're making have nothing to do with the pre-sentence investigation. So that they knew they were going to ask for these downward mitigations, they should have filed a motion with the court, and the state should respond in writing also. I agree. Joe, you're right. A lot of times the state does not respond. If they file the motion, they just do it orally. It really puts the onus on the judge to make the right decision, and not knowing the case law, not knowing these arguments, and make sure he does it properly on the record for the appeal. It should not be done this way.
Tim, also, this is a good point. They did mention a $700,000+ restitution. Is that essentially the state saying you need to now pay us back for our prosecution?
That's exactly right, and I believe the judge is going to order it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how does that go down? Is that something that Harvey can finagle his way out of, or is that something?
No, it'll be a civil judgment against her and any assets she owns. So unless they've already moved, you know, she's already said in that jail call, they moved all their assets, that they're taking care of their estate. Their lawyer was there, and before they fled or committed suicide. So it's probably all in trust. The trust are probably in the grandkids' names already. So they, if she has any houses, they might, but who knows?
Yeah, and I don't know civil law well enough, but if you move the assets in anticipation.
I'll start with the disparity argument, if I may, Your Honor. In this case, there have been several co-defendants who have either been tried or entered pleas and received sentences. I want to, for this particular argument, relate exclusively to Luis Rivera. He testified in the trial, and through himself and other witnesses, Your Honor has heard what he did in this case. And what he did in this case compared to what the state has alleged and the jury found that Mrs. Adelson did, the culpability levels are very different. Mr. Rivera was allowed to enter a plea to second-degree murder And although, as the PSI indicates, he received a sentence of 19 years in the Department of Corrections, that was run concurrent with a sentence he was already serving in a completely unrelated matter in a federal case where he got a 12-year sentence. So the number of years that he will actually serve for his participation in the homicide of Dan Markel is 7 years in the state of Florida Department of Corrections.
That's some fuzzy math, but okay.
His conduct, as Your Honor can recall, is that he traveled to Tallahassee sometime in June and scoped out the home of Danny Markel, engaged in some drug activity with Sigfredo Garcia, and then returned to South Florida. A few weeks later, he returned to Tallahassee and again scoped out Danny Markel's house. But he didn't just do that. Prior to arriving in Tallahassee, with himself knowing that he and Sigfredo Garcia were going to kill Danny Markel, he purchased and provided the very firearm that was used to kill Danny. He came to Tallahassee and they sat in wait outside his home. They followed him with Mr. Rivera being the driver, followed him while he took his 2 little boys to daycare, and he sat and watched as Mr. Markel, hand in hand, took those children inside the daycare. He then followed Mr. Markel all the way to the gym, sitting in wait. What was he waiting for? He knew what he was waiting for. Mr. Markel did not. He had no clue that these men were outside in a car just waiting for him to go to a place where they could shoot and kill him. And they waited until he exercised. They watched him get back into his vehicle, and then, like hunters, traveled and followed all of this time period straight to his home. And there was no hesitation. He knew exactly what they were going to do. Without any hesitation, they pulled right in behind Danny. Danny's car was still running, the garage door was up, and Sigfredo Garcia exits the car and shoots Danny Markel, having done nothing to these men, in the head twice. How Mr. Markel survived, I don't know. But then Luis Rivera is the getaway driver. They flee the scene, they flee Tallahassee, and then Mr. Rivera stops to allow Sigfredo Garcia to dispose of the murder weapon, which has never been found. And then he drives back to South Florida like nothing has happened, purchasing motorcycles and cars, but most importantly, getting paid for the work that he's just done. The payment came from Catherine Mangbanawah, and I'll address her in the next segment. The point here is, Judge, that over time, reading different things, you've heard a lot of arguments about what Mrs. Adelson's participation allegedly was. But when it comes down to it, and I didn't mention, but Luis Rivera did have an extensive criminal history at the time that he committed this offense. What actually came out at trial with respect to Mrs. Adelson, and I'm saying this, understanding, as you've learned, that Mrs. Adelson still maintains that she is innocent of this conduct. But what the state was able to show through their testimony and evidence was that the role that she played, according to them in the prosecution, was very minimal. The evidence showed that she was very upset when relocation was denied in 2013, not knowing that her daughter had agreed to it, not knowing that until she sat here in trial hearing her daughter's testimony. She wrote some very ugly emails. She said some very ugly things. But in not one of those emails did it ever say that she wished harm upon Danny Markel. And this was in 2013. The evidence was presented by the state that was over a year later that Danny was killed after relocation had been denied. Although they argued that there was continued hostility on the part of Mrs. Adelson regarding the issue of relocation, with the hundreds of thousands of emails they had, they didn't present evidence that this ongoing dispute was being brought up in any way between the parties. The relocation between them, that issue had stopped. The testimony that was elicited was that Charlie Adelson, the son of Mrs. Adelson, was the one who was close with Mrs. Adelson, and that when she had a problem, the argument from the state was, when she had a problem, Charlie was the problem solver. And the testimony at court that was presented by the state supported that theory, that Charlie was the problem solver. They further elicited evidence, testimony, that without any knowledge of what the phone calls were, Catherine Magbanawala testified that when she was with Charlie Adelson discussing scenarios, which she didn't describe what scenarios she was discussing, that on occasion there would be a phone call between Charlie and his mother. She didn't hear the mother speaking. In fact, he left the room when he talked to, allegedly, the mother, and he came back in. He never relayed to her any information about the phone call. But the state's theory and the evidence that they presented was because Donna Adelson had been so upset about the fact that relocation was denied, and she continued to be upset, according to the testimony, that Charlie Adelson took it upon himself to reach out to someone, which was his girlfriend, and have her get someone that she knew who could commit this murder, make contact with them. According to the testimony in the state, in this case, Charlie Adelson told Catherine Magbanawala, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, it's just as the names were reused, but Mrs. Magbanawala, that she wanted him killed and he would pay for that to happen. Her testimony was she had no idea what the payment was going to be, but she did in fact reach out to the father of her children, Sigfredo Garcia, and he agreed to commit the homicide. Mr. Garcia then elicited Luis Rivera to participate with him in the homicide, and I'm not going to go through all the evidence in the case. I want to focus on what Mrs. Adelson allegedly did. Up until the point of the homicide, the only evidence that was presented about Mrs. Adelson's participation were those ugly emails. And there's a distinction, as we discussed during the trial and sometimes even at sidebar, of the evidence being up to the moment that Mr. Markel was killed. Up to that time, the only evidence introduced by the state in this trial for that time period were those ugly emails, and they were ugly. She called him very foul names. She said some ugly language. She clearly was not happy. And whatever conversations may have taken place while Catherine Magbanawala was inside Charlie Adelson's home and Charlie was outside talking to another person. Mrs. Adelson maintains her innocence. But if you're looking at this particular cause of this disparity in treatment, the state is asking that Mrs. Adelson be sentenced to obviously life on count 1 as she has to be, followed by 30 years in the Department of Corrections on counts 2 and 3.
Yep.
This is far in excess of the sentence that was received by the man who himself testified to hunting down Danny Markel, providing the gun for him to be murdered with, leaving the scene of the crime, disposing of the murder weapon, and going on with his life and his gang as he always had. In that disparity, Judge, it just doesn't reconcile with the facts here of what they say Mrs. Adelson did. Although there was a theme that she was the mastermind, I would argue to the court that the evidence did not show she was the mastermind in any way. The masterminds that were shown in this trial were Charles Adelson and Catherine Magbanawala. It didn't show any activity prior to Mr. Markel being killed where Mrs. Adelson was involved in any way.
Take away what you're arguing as the theme for the moment. The chief difference between Luis Rivera and your client is he entered into a plea, correct?
That's correct. He did enter into a plea, but that, according to the case law, that can be considered.
And he has also cooperated with the state, testifying in many trials.
He was a cooperating witness testifying in these trials. Mrs. Adelson not only has maintained her innocence, she was never offered anything from the state.
Please continue.
On the statutory basis, that the defendant was an accomplice to the offense and a relatively minor participant in the criminal conduct, some of what I've just argued applies to this one as well, Your Honor. But what I wanted to point out here were the ones that we didn't discuss. So Sigfredo Garcia was found guilty at trial first-degree murder and conspiracy. His sentence was life on the homicide and an additional 30 years consecutive for the conspiracy count. He is the one who rode in the car. He is the one who obtained Luis Garcia to go with him. He is the one who sat in the seat knowing he was going to exit the car while they hunted down Danny Markel. And he's the one who got out and shot Danny Markel in cold blood. Left like nothing had ever happened. Along the way, made many stops, including getting out to hide the murder weapon, and then went on with his life. The killer is getting the same sentence that the lesser participant, the state is suggesting, get as well. Life in prison on count 1, followed by 30 years for the conspiracy and solicitation. Luis Rivera, I've already told you what his role was. Catherine Magbanawah got the information from Charlie Adelson according to the evidence, and at his request obtained someone, Sigfredo Garcia, to do the killing. She is the one who coordinated between Charlie Adelson and Sigfredo Garcia and Luis Rivera, although she testified that she didn't know Luis Rivera was involved until after it was over. The evidence that the state submitted clearly contradicts that. She was communicating with Luis Rivera before, closely to the homicide, and then shortly thereafter. She's the one that spoke to him. She was sentenced on the first-degree murder to life in prison, and on the solicitation and conspiracy, she was sentenced to an additional 30 years. It was run consecutive. Again, the same sentence that they're asking for on Mrs. Adelson is the sentence that this woman who heard the request for a homicide, found the person to commit the homicide, stayed in communication with both of the individuals who are responsible for killing Danny Markel, followed up with them and provided payment to them, and then took payment back from them for her to keep for herself. She was also paid in this. She participated, knew it was happening. They had proof that she knew it was happening. That was submitted to the court. All of that evidence clearly distinguishable from the conduct that they presented in evidence about what Donna Adelson did. Charlie Adelson, according to the testimony in this trial and his own, Charlie Adelson wanted Danny Markel dead. So on his close or very first date with Catherine Magbanawah, he asks her out in public at Halloween, some Halloween function, hey, do you know anybody who could get somebody killed? According to her testimony, she followed through with that. With Charlie Adelson, never with Donna Adelson, never communicated with her in any way about this. She worked then, if that's what happened and that's what's been testified to, she worked with Charlie Adelson from October of 2013 until Danny Markel was brutally killed in July of 2014. That entire period, and there's evidence, she admitted to most of it, to her conduct, and there's evidence that was presented in this trial and Charlie's that that's what happened. They made this plan, and that his stapled money was used to pay the killers in this case some $130,000 in cash that was divided up amongst Sigfredo Garcia. Sorry, my mouth is getting dry. Excuse me.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Judge. It was divided up between Sigfredo Garcia, Catherine Magbanawah, and Luis Rivera. She then stayed in contact with Charlie Adelson. She convinced Charlie Adelson to get paychecks written to her, and she received those paychecks each time from Charlie Adelson. So for what Catherine Magbanawah did and what Charlie Adelson did, the evidence in this case shows it went far beyond what the state's evidence showed that Donna did, up to and including the time that Danny was killed. So again, if you're going to rate the level of culpability in this case and consider Mrs. Adelson's conduct as compared to those, they're asking that she get the same sentence as both of the people who killed, well, one person that did the killing, Sigfredo, a far more extensive sentence than Luis Rivera, who participated in the killing himself and only got 7 years, The same as Catherine McBanawa, that apparently worked on this according to the evidence for many, many months and stayed involved even after that. Charlie Adelson is the only one who got a higher sentence. His sentence was life on count 1, the homicide, followed by 30 years on count 2 and another 30 years on count 3, so everything being run consecutively. The evidence that the state has presented is that Charlie Adelson is the one who masterminded this. That's what they've shown. Even though they said Catherine McBanawa wasn't her trial, if there's somebody who started this, according to the evidence, it's Charlie Adelson, not Donna Adelson. All the work being done was Charlie Adelson. All the money that was paid was Charlie Adelson's money. Mrs. Adelson, according to the state's evidence, did not do any of that. Again, they had hundreds of thousands of dollars, or hundreds of thousands of emails. Never one in all of those emails that we all had to go through did Mrs. Adelson ever suggest any harm to Danny Markel in any way. I understand the verdict, and she has a right to take an appeal, and that's what she'll do. But the evidence in what was argued is very far different in theory than what was actually presented to this jury. And I'm requesting that Your Honor, in determining a sentence on counts 2 and 3, take into consideration that the amount of activity that everyone engaged in this case was far, far beyond what was alleged against Mrs. Adelson. They just didn't come up with the proof for that. They did prove to a jury that she was involved, but that proof and the actual evidence was very limited
what is
to the
going
conduct
on
that they say that she engaged in that resulted in Mr. Markel's death. I do want to remark, if I may, just briefly on the issue of remorse. Mrs. Adelson maintains her innocence, and as she has a lawful right to do, will seek an appeal. She may not get another trial. There may or may not be parts of the finding of the jury that is reversed, may not. They can do that on, the appellate court can do that on 1, 2, or 3 counts. There are lots of options that the appellate court has. The reason I say that is this. Mrs. Adelson, maintaining her innocence, could not have shown more remorse for the killing of Danny Markel. And in her statement, although some of it I know was bothersome to the court, in her statement, I hope you heard.
I wouldn't say bothersome to the court.
Okay.
Please continue.
Okay. I misread then. I apologize based on your comments. One of the things she said in her statement, after most of her statement being about the horrible thing that happened to Danny Markel, was that the people who were responsible for it were in prison. That's a pretty big statement considering what the state believes Mrs. Adelson's position is with respect to the others who've been prosecuted, convicted, and are serving sentences in the Florida Department of Corrections.
Wow.
I also want to say this. The defense's position in this case, from start to finish, has always been, on behalf of Mrs. Adelson, beyond respectful to the victim in this case, Danny Markel. He should not be lost in this case, and I said that in my opening statement. We presented evidence about a wonderful man he was. He did not deserve for this to happen. The Markels gave their statements at the conclusion of the verdict that was issued by the jury, and I listened to every single word. And every single word that they said came out of the terrible grief from the loss of their son and the feelings that they have developed over the course of this 11 years in prosecuting these various people and additional information that has been given to them. Every word they had every right to say. The feelings that they had are exactly what they should have. What happened to Danny Markel, as Donna Adelson has said in her statement, could not have been more horrific. He was treated like an animal, completely unaware that there was any kind of problem, that he would have any kind of physical altercation with anybody. I'm positive the furthest thing from his mind that day was that someone was going to kill him in his garage at his home. He did not deserve what he got. It's been very clear in the prior prosecutions and what was presented in Mrs. Adelson's trial about the conduct of these other individuals. They do deserve to be where they are. They do. Their conduct is unimaginable to me, that human beings would engage in that kind of conduct to bring a man, an innocent man, a well-respected man, an amazing father, to take him away from his mother, his father, his sister, most importantly, his children. That was horrific. I understand why those sentences were imposed. Not for Mr. Rivera, but for the ones that were tried and convicted. In this case, Judge, based on the evidence that was presented, the defense is going to ask on counts 2 and 3 that you sentence Mrs. Adelson to 3 years in the Florida Department of Corrections, counts 2 and 3 to run concurrently.
That's not happening.
My understanding in the court, the clerk can tell me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is Mrs. Adelson has 701 days credit time served. That's what we calculated.
They're going to ask for credit time
Stipulate
served.
to 701.
Yeah.
Very well.
Wow, that's bold.
Anything more on counts 2 and 3, Judge? First of all, in order for it to assist Mrs. Adelson, she's going to have to be successful on count 1 on appeal. If she is, anything more than that period of time is going to basically be a death sentence for Mrs. Adelson. She is soon to be 76 years old. Her health has gotten worse while incarcerated, as anyone would probably expect. Her husband is 81 years old. Compared, 3 years compared to the man who participated in the killing getting 7 years, I believe is a just and reasonable sentence for Mrs. Adelson. We are also going to ask, Your Honor, after imposing sentence, I know it's nothing but a recommendation, but we would ask if you make a recommendation to the Florida Department of Corrections that Mrs. Adelson be placed as close to Miami as possible, where her husband resides, so that she can have visitation. I understand we don't have any control over Department of Corrections, but we would appreciate that recommendation. And may I have just one moment, please?
Go ahead.
The gall.
While she's doing that,
Ask
Judge, I
for
would
3
ask that
years.
Ms. Adelson not be housed with Ms. McBanow, or at least have a separation, if you could recommend that. I know Ms. McBanow is currently at Lowell CI.
Yes, Judge, I thank you for that, Ms. Kappelman. I wanted to raise that issue because we did check into that. Judge, I contacted the Florida Department of Corrections. They did indicate that they would be able to keep them separate, but that doesn't necessarily mean that folks who are familiar with and friendly with Mrs. McBanow wouldn't be where Mrs. Adelson would be. So we are concerned about that, about her being placed at that facility. I didn't know it before, but the reception center for the women actually keep inmates there. So that, I know that's a possibility, but again, that's in Ocala, and we're respectfully requesting that she be placed closer to Miami. Thank you.
I mean, George is the one that brought that up.
Going to review the last case the defense has presented for downward departure. Ms. Kappelman, you had something else?
No, Your Honor, I don't.
Review the cases for downward departure, or in support of downward departure, the defense has argued.
When he sentences, I expect him to mention her failure to take responsibility and lack of remorse, but I expect him to say the sentence he was imposing was based on the evidence already in the record, and that the failure simply gave him no reason to depart from what was the sentence that was warranted. And that would help with the appeal on this.
And Tim, just so I understand, this 3 years she's asking about, that's in case in the case of an appeal that works in her favor, then she would basically get out fairly quickly. That's the idea, right?
Yeah, she's asking for, like, you get more time for a DUI manslaughter than that. Vehicular homicide. A convicted felon with possession of a firearm is a 3-year minimum mandatory. This is outrageous to stand at a podium and ask for 3 years, knowing that she was the one soliciting and paid for the accomplice's fees for committing the murder.
Yeah.
It's just outrageous. And Luis Rivera cooperated early and testified and worked out a plea negotiation that helped bring justice to all the other individuals.
Yeah. And Tim,
They're not comparable.
Didn't Jackie sort of just admit her guilt too? I mean,
she did.
Yeah.
She said they proved Charlie was behind it and they proved her involvement.
Yes. I mean,
so you can't have it both ways.
That part. This is like gaslighting to the nth degree.
Yeah. Really. I mean,
well, when you stretch the truth so many times, you end up getting that pretzel knot because you put yourself in it. And that's what she did.
Yeah.
Well, and she tried to walk such a little tightrope with saying that the evidence supported the verdict against Charlie, and all of them without mentioning Charlie, and still leaving a little, whisper of space saying Charlie was wrongly convicted. I mean, I thought it was an interesting and an unsuccessful attempt to do it.
Yeah.
So
now the judge has got to make sure he tailors his sentencing. He's now going to have to address, I'm going to deny the downward departure because I don't believe it's applicable. And he's got to be very cautious now how he does the sentencing.
Which is, again, why I think the state should always make a presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Could assist, and in any event, it gives him another place to put down his anchor with regard to the sentence that he imposes.
And what I thought was very interesting is how the judge was very quick to correct defense counsel when she was like, oh, I think that the defendant's statement was bothersome to Your Honor. He was like, no, it didn't bother me. It's fine. And she's like, oh, I guess I must have misinterpreted. Because again, that's setting this up for appeal in terms of, oh, the judge was biased against the defendant in terms of sentencing because he didn't like what she said. Therefore, he came back with a life sentence versus, no, I listened to everything. I wasn't bothered. I'm giving a sentence, much like Tim was saying, I'm giving a sentence based on the facts, based on the charges, based on, I don't think downward departures appropriate here, et cetera, et cetera. So I liked how he was quick to correct that because he knew how it could be used later on down the line.
Yeah,
he's sorry.
Go ahead.
No,
you go ahead, Joe.
I was just going to say, I think Judge Everett, of all the judges I've heard, is remarkably good at listening to what the record on the appeal is going to sound like. He's really, really good at it.
And he's going to make sure that counts 2 and 3 will not be overturned, that she's not going to walk out of any Department of Corrections facility until she is deceased. Yeah, so I do not believe. And there's a reason why Jackie's no longer a judge, right? And if you'd have known Jackie when she was a judge, Jackie would have given her life on counts 1, 2, and 3, even though the max is 30 years. That's what a hardcore, tough judge Jackie was. So for her to go up there now and say 3 years, it's just mind-boggling.
And Tim, what is right now? What is Judge Everett doing? What's happening right now?
Well, he's probably looking at the case law, looking at the sentences, figuring out what he's going to do. And then you got to word it properly. You got to make sure he words it properly on the record because that's going to go to the appellate level. He's going to say, count 1, I found you guilty. And he's going to have to differentiate between all the defendants and why he's not doing a downward departure. And he wants to get it right. He's good. He's smart. These are just red herrings that are being thrown up. And the judge is smart enough. He's not gonna make a mistake.
Yeah.
And she's not going to get 3 years.
Agreed.
While I have you all, if you could just take a minute, really appreciate if you can like, subscribe. We've got a Patreon page. Got a lot of people here. If you're new to the show, we do a live panel show, 7 o'clock Eastern, every day of the week. Friday, it's in the afternoon. And I've dragged my beloved mother as Friday co-host, and she's already resisting me, saying she will not do this Friday. She said she'll only do select shows, so I'm dealing with that.
Go ahead, Mom.
Behind the scenes, yes. While we're waiting on this, so let me just go back to a little bit of this statement from Donna. Tim Jansen, I mean, she said, while crying without tears coming out, that the boys have a photo with their Abba, which is a word for father in Hebrew, beside their bed, and every night they kiss those photos and say, Abba, I love you. And then she says, cruel, cold-hearted people took him from all of us. My grandsons will grow up without their father. I mean, this is a woman convicted of these crimes. The arrogance, I guess, hubris, the chutzpah is just mind-blowing. I mean, is this going to, I mean, what kind of effect will this have on Judge Everett hearing this?
Well, he reviewed the cases presented by the defense concerning the downward departure. Also, as well, the argument that has been presented, the court has reviewed its notes of the trial and will rule on the issue of downward departure at this point. Florida Supreme Court has a two-part test concerning whether a downward departure should be granted or could be granted by the trial court. The first is whether the trial court can impose a downward departure sentence based on a valid legal ground proven by a preponderance of the evidence. The second step is whether the trial court decides whether it should impose the downward departure based on the totality of the circumstances. As to both the non-statutory grounds that have been argued and the grounds contained within section 921.0026, subsection 2, subsection B, in reviewing the trial court's notes, what has been argued by both the defense and also, as well, the court's relying on the record itself, court will find that there is a ground for non-statutory downward departure, but it declines to exercise its discretion. As to the statutory ground, I will find that both the defendant was an accomplice to the offense and a relative minor participant in the criminal conduct. I will find that has not been proven, but in addition to, the court would still decline to exercise its discretion. As to the sentence in this matter, Ms. Adelson, please rise. Level of planning and coordination to bring the murder of Professor Markel to fruition was significant in this case. These were not crimes of chance or opportunity, and these crimes also required you to conspire with your son and others. You certainly can choose to deny your involvement and maintain innocence. The court finds the evidence in this case is clear. You will be sentenced accordingly this afternoon. The jury has found you guilty on charges of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and solicitation to commit first-degree murder, and the court previously adjudicated you guilty as to these same charges on September 4th of this year. On count 1 of the indictment for first-degree murder, you are hereby sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole or release pursuant to sections 782.04 and 775.082 sub 1 sub A Florida statutes. On count 2 of the indictment, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, you are hereby sentenced to 30 years in the Department of Corrections that will run consecutive to count 1. The court will also sentence you to 30 years in the Department of Corrections on count 3. Counts 2 and 3 are to run concurrent with each other, but consecutive to count 1. As to the fees and costs, the clerk can please announce those at this time.
$2,100 as a fine pursuant to section 775.083, $105 as the 5% surcharge required by section 938.04, $20 as the court cost pursuant to section 938.06, Crimes Property Trust Fund, $3 as a court cost pursuant to section 938.01, subsection 1, Criminal Justice Trust Fund, $50 pursuant to section 938.03, Crimes Compensation Trust Fund, $225 pursuant to section 938.05, Local Government Criminal Justice Trust Fund, $2 as a court cost pursuant to section 938.15, County Criminal Justice Education, $50 as a court cost pursuant to section 775.083, subsection 2, County Crime Prevention, $65 as a court cost pursuant to section 939.185, county additional court costs, and $3 as a court cost pursuant to section 938.19, teen court assessments.
Is there any lawful objection by the defense to these assessments? Yeah. They will be assessed at this time. The cost of prosecution, the court will reserve jurisdiction on to determine for 60 days. If a hearing needs to take place concerning this matter, that will take place at a future time. As the defense's request for the court to make a recommendation to the Department of Corrections to place Mrs. Adelson in a facility near Miami-Dade County, I have no problem making this recommendation. The Department of Corrections will have the final say because this is an administrative matter. I will also recommend to the department that Mrs. Adelson is not to be placed in any unit or facility that would also house Catherine McVanawa. The court did previously award to the state, based on the September 17th, 2024 continuance of the trial, costs that were related to that. Ms. Kappelman, a part of what you're seeking to pursue, is that included within that, or is that a separate number?
Are you speaking of the costs that were ordered in Charlie Adelson's trial?
No. The day Daniel Rashbaum withdrew from the case and the trial had to be continued.
Okay.
All costs related to moving witnesses and other matters.
Yes, sir. I don't know the answer to that, but I'll make sure that they're only in there once.
Very well. The defendant is to be fingerprinted, 30 days to appeal. Please file the appeal promptly.
Your Honor, may I approach the clerk? We have put I have written on the letters that I had, so we've put a composite together and I've shown it to Mrs. Kappelman, who has no objection.
Please place the sticker on them so that way they can be admitted.
No objection.
We are in recess.
Sounds like Georgia forgot about the September cost. I was more worried about Florida taxpayers than she was.
This is almost a wrap here. Judd, there we go. Audio's out, and there goes the. We're back for a second. So the judge imposing a sentence on Donna Sue Adelson on the first count, murder in the first degree, life without the possibility of parole. I believe she is being fingerprinted right then and there, I believe. Is that right, Tim?
Yep, absolutely.
Yep. Being fingerprinted right there. So on count one, murder in the first degree, life without parole, and then count two and count three, which is conspiracy and solicitation, 30 years, which I believe is the max count on those, Tim. Yeah. And the judge made it clear that 2 and 3 would run concurrent, but would run consecutive to LWOP. What does that mean?
So that means if she wins count one, because her argument has always been there's no evidence that anything before the murder that I participated. So if the appellate court says, yes, that's true, we're going to throw out count one. Counts 2 and 3 will survive. Both of them survive, or either one of them survives, and she gets 30 years, which at her age, it's going to be a life sentence.
Tim Jansen, you've seen been a part of and seen a lot of sentencings, particularly in Leon County, where this is taking place in Tallahassee. You are the famed Tallahassee criminal defense attorney. Have you ever seen a sentencing quite like this one?
No, I've never seen the lack of professionalism, the failure to file pretrial motions, sentencing memorandum, and then to get up there and argue for a 3-year sentence on solicitation for murder after. It's just crazy. It's like they didn't care. They were just going to say what they wanted to say, and they're going to do what they wanted to do, just like Harvey said what he wanted to say. Donna had this memoir she was going to read. She didn't care. And then they wanted the judge to give some kind of leniency. And she said the people who killed him are outrageous and horrible people. Well, she's describing her son and herself. She looks in the mirror and she sees who did this. The lawyers go home, they get paid and they go home, which is sure. But your credibility and reputation before a judge is important. And to ask for 3 years, you really had no chance. And so I just find it crazy and unprofessional.
There goes Harvey Adelson out the door. Unclear if we'll ever see him inside a Tallahassee courtroom again. I got to tell you, I don't recall ever seeing anything quite like this. Joe Potuto, to you, I guess of all the things that were kind of crazy in this sentencing, and I've messaged Steve and the COE already to say we're going to stay on this week. So there was so much information, so many different people speaking. We're going to get different reaction from different people throughout the week, and I'm definitely going to get Dr. G, who I hope is feeling better, to do some body language analysis on Donna during her own statement. But Joe Potuto, of all the things that we just saw, what stood out to you? I guess the most. What jumped out at you the most, if there is a single thing?
That's pretty hard to say because there were so many outrageous things going on. I think in general, it was and it wasn't just Donna. It was Donna. It was Harvey. It was at least 2 or 3 of the witnesses in support, all of whom just ignored what they were supposed to be doing at a sentencing hearing and wanted to retry the case, which you cannot do, to attack the jury, to say the judge was biased, to say the jury was biased, to say that everything was wrong. I mean, that was the picture of everything they did, and it's so extraordinary. I mean, if Tim had answered anything other, he never saw anything like it, I would have thought he's just lost his mind, because this is not what a sentencing hearing is. I mean, it was just unbelievable.
I got to tell you, it's a Monday. I've got a massive headache from this, and there's a cure for it, at least one sort of cure. I'm going to play this, and then we'll come back right to Melba Pearson. What's up, STS Nation? I know you're going to find this hard to believe, but I'm more stressed out than ever. If I'm not worried about how to make the podcast better, I'm worried about my kids. If I'm not worried about my kids, I'm worried about Carm. And if I'm not worried about Carm, I'm worried about Fred and Ethel and how to get Fred to stop marking all over my house. But thankfully, I found Moo.com. From sleepless nights to stress-filled days, Moo.com has functional gummies that target specific health concerns with 100% federally legal THC blend, and they even deliver directly to your doorstep. You can get 20% off your first order at Moo.com with promo code Surviving the Survivor. To be honest, I'm not sure how I'd survive without Mood edibles. Sleepy Time gummies knock me out in about 15 minutes flat. No hangovers, no grogginess. I wake up feeling amazing. And they have gummies for literally everything: immune support, menopause relief, PMS symptoms, mental clarity, sexual arousal. Sorry, COE. And each one is crafted using federally legal cannabis grown on small, family-owned American farms. Mood stand behind everything with an industry-leading 100-day satisfaction guarantee. So head to Mood.com, browse our amazing selection of functional gummies, and find the perfect gummy for whatever you're dealing with. And remember to use promo code Surviving the Survivor at checkout to save 20% on your first order. I was going to call you Dr. Melba Pearson, but Melba Pearson, you might as well be a doctor of the law, which you are. I mean, I don't know what it's like, in Miami-Dade. I've covered a few trials there. It's Miami does not mess around. Have you seen a sentencing quite like this one?
No. No. Even in Miami, with these could get real hectic.
Yeah, things in Miami get wild, but I don't recall seeing one this crazy.
No. I mean, because again, the judges are very deliberate, and they're just like, if you got any of this, we are hashing it out before sentencing. And I guess, judge got places to be. They're like, we don't have all day for this. So hash everything out. You come in, you say something, character witnesses say something, defendant, boom, sentence, and we're out. So it was just very, this was very chaotic, number one. But also, number two, the outcome is exactly what we thought it was going to be, which is life in prison. And, followed by 30 years. And to be honest, I give her 5 years max. She's gonna be meeting her maker and having that discussion about what she did while she was on this planet Earth. And she's good because prison ages you. If you're going in with health issues, I mean, listen, if you go in prison as like a younger person, 20s, 30s, whatever, you see a lot of folks dying at 60, 70 because I forgot the exact like formula, but someone was telling me that it's like prison adds like 10 years onto your life, right? It ages you because of the conditions, because of, you're getting decent health care, but it's not great, and you're not seeing the sunshine, all the things, the family connections, all the things that help you live a longer life are now removed once you're in prison. So I see an accelerated decline for her. I mean, I'm not wishing it. I'm just saying factually, based on what I've seen and what the studies show, I give her 5 years.
Tim, do you concur with that? You think it's going to only be 5 years for her before she checks out because of the conditions in state prison? I mean, they got to keep her away, obviously, from Katie and whoever Katie's associates are. But I'm strictly speaking, longevity in prison. You think that's about right?
Well, I predicted 6, but I predict when her appeal is denied on counts 2 and 3, she'll be up until that, and that's probably going to be about 2.5 years. She'll find out that she's there for the rest of her life. And I think Harvey probably won't do very well either. And she might just give up and will herself to meet her maker.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am hearing that there's there are some people talking after court. We don't have access to it now, but we will, and we'll be posting it under the video section in our under our video tab. But yeah, I just saw Abby Crossing, friend of the show, friend of mine, in the chat saying, may she live to 120. Tim Jansen, that comes directly from Phil Markel's victim impact statement. There's a Jewish tradition to say, may you live to 120. And he wants her to live to 120 so she can sit there and ponder the crime that she does not believe she committed. It's pretty poignant here. She's going to have some time. If it's only 5 years, it's going to be 5 years of just thinking about what she did. Do you think she's ever going to come to terms that she had anything to do with this?
Well, I feel for Phil, Shelley, and Ruth because they have taken the high road the whole time. They've always taken the high road. And for what Harvey did today, to come out blazing after them saying they're liars about not seeing their grandkids. It's just the victim shaming and victimizing them again. And for them to see this after he took the high road when he gave the statement, when they gave the statement with Donna, anybody else might have said something a lot worse. He still did it with dignity and class. And for them to do what they did today, I feel bad for the Markels. I feel for them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they were watching. They were on the Zoom. It was announced by the judge, and then they've got to sit there and, to use Melba's word, which is the perfect word, is just be gaslighted by Donna and Harvey. Let me just recap real quickly here what happened today. Obviously, it was the sentencing for Donna Sue Adelson. She just got the max on all 3 counts. There was, by the way, Tim, what was up with the pre-sentence investigation? I guess that was all done, right? I mean, the judge mentioned it, right? I mean, you can't have
one side note. Georgia didn't even make an argument, right?
Yeah.
She really didn't make an argument. She didn't even dispute anything. She goes, Judge, this is what we're asking for. And then that's what exactly happened.
So the defense, Judge Everett asks, does the defense have its presentation? Are you ready to go? Yeah. So they have statements from various people. The first one is this guy, Dr. Ben Graber, who's a quote unquote friend since 1979, but actually admits in his statement that he hadn't really been friends with them over the last 20 years. He also happens to be a politician. And I'm going to fly through these people because they're, obviously less important than Harvey and Donna. We'll get to them in a minute. But Joe, he says, first 20 years we were actively engaged. I'm a doctor. I'm a politician. Says to Donna, sorry, I couldn't be there to hug you. You have friends. I believe in you. I never thought we'd be here when I first met you. I feel very bad for your family, the Markel family. I made it a point there. I mean, he literally says he feels bad for the Adelsons. And then as a side note for the Markel family, a bad look. Like if that was me, coaching somebody, no matter what, I would say, you've got to address the victim's family first here, and then you can say the Adelsons, if that's what you want to say. But he says that this has caused pain, not just for the Adelsons, but shockingly also for the Markels, for 3 generations of each family. But then he gets into the law, at which point the judge has to stop Joe Potuto and asks Jackie Fulford, is this a character statement? What is going on here? This guy's not qualified to be giving any kind of legal statement. So what happened there, Joe Potuto?
Well, he wasn't giving a character statement. He was doing anything but. I timed it, and I think the only thing he did about character with her was the last maybe 70 seconds. I don't think there was anything else in there in that whole talk. And when he talks about being a legislator, I mean, it's completely irrelevant. In the first place, even if he was there when the statute was enacted, legislatures speak as one voice. You don't get to be one legislator in the room and say, I am the authority on what the statute means. And in addition, so what? The statute is written the way the statute is written. The judge is going to apply it as written. All irrelevant. The judge let that go for quite a while. I was surprised he let it go that long. But what he did, and what each of the other people who spoke today after the judge intervened to ask, is this a character statement? They went merrily ahead and gave something that wasn't a character statement. It didn't change what they said a whit.
I'm looking at this statement from Lori Keith, because I forget who it was, but someone brought up, now I can't remember, but someone brought up Dan Markel and would not be comfortable with this kind of retribution. Was that Harvey who said that?
That was Jackie Fulford. No, it was Donna. It was Donna. No, it was Jackie.
Yeah,
wasn't it Jackie?
It all blends together. I'm gonna have to go back, but
no,
that
was Donna. It was Donna, because I remember being so offended by it. It was Donna. Sorry.
I mean, that is particularly offensive. Okay, so this is right after court here, obviously. That is Julia Janae, Court TV.
Yeah.
And let's see. I think we're gonna get a little impromptu press conference here. My kids are off of school yet again, so the COE is just back, I think, at the house. It appears the Jewish holidays never end in the fall. They just go on and on and on. One of the things, Melba, that this guy, Ben Graber, said at the end, he said, bad things happen to good people. It is time for compassion and understanding and healing. I love you, Donna. To invoke that phrase, that bad things happen to good people. This is a woman who's a convicted killer. I mean, why are they choosing to, I guess there's Jeff Burlew, Tallahassee Democrat. Love that guy. But Melba Pearson, why are they choosing these different, character statements? Why are they choosing this tactic instead of just, I don't know, being humble, being somewhat remorseful, speaking to the victim? Instead, they're challenging at every turn.
Yeah. So, and is this this weird cult of personality, or it's that, oh, these are wealthy people that we know, so clearly they could not commit a crime, which, do you ever really know someone? That's always the question, right? So, but I have seen this tactic used in other trials. So in sentencing. So, I mean, I once had a domestic violence case. Thankfully, that one was not a homicide, but the defendant's family got up and was attacking my victim, being like, if he was beating you, you should have called us. Like, why did you call the police? That kind of thing. So it's not unusual, I guess, for family members or others to, espouse some very negative things on the stand. But that's where counsel comes in. That's where defense counsel is like, listen, this is the script. Stick to it, because anything else you say is going to end up harming your loved one and making the sentence even worse. So stick to the script. This is it. And clearly that didn't happen here because they were not helping. What would have been helpful was being like, listen, I've known, and this is just hypothetical. I've known Donna Adelson for 20 years. She's a caring mother. We attended services together. She was wonderful with the grandkids. Please take all of that into consideration. She is a mother, and I think that she's learned her lesson. Whatever, something along those lines. Those are the types of things you say in support of somebody at a sentencing hearing. Anything else risks harming the cause, which clearly happened here. And also, too, lastly, I think a lot of those folks, too, were posing for the cameras because they're like, this is my, 5 minutes of fame. So let me talk about me and all the things that I did and why you should hire me, why you should call me later, whatever, versus focusing on what's at hand.
Yeah, and Dr. Ben Graber is a politician, so we know that they like their camera time. But Alex Perkins here, OMG Harvey. Now we get why Charlie's Charlie and Donna's Donna and maybe Wendi is Wendi. But you do get a good look inside the family dynamic here with both Harvey and Donna's statements. Real quickly, Richard Chagrin, who testified, or Chagrin, Chagrin might be a better way to pronounce it, Chagrin, who testified in the first trial, they read his email. Was he there? He was there. Now I'm getting confused.
Yeah, he stood up in the walker.
Yeah, in the walker. He was there. So he says, we've known Donna for over 35 years. We were in shock about this. We stand behind Donna. And again, he takes a shot at the venue, saying that the trial, Tim, was held in a county where it wasn't fair and that in another county would have been acquitted. And again, that's where the judge jumps in, Tim. Combative, no remorse, and just antagonistic, correct?
Yeah, we're just mean hillbilly people up here in Tallahassee. We don't give people fair trials. We're uneducated, even though we probably have the most educated population in the state of Florida with 3 major universities. It's like telling somebody bad news. They want to kill the messenger instead of the message, right? The facts were the facts. The evidence was the evidence. It's pretty clear. And they didn't want to try it up here because they thought they could pull the wool over somebody somewhere else. Look, Charlie thought he was walking. Donna thought she was walking. They all thought, and Katie McBurnell, I thought she was walking twice, and none of them walked.
Yeah. And then there was after Richard Chagrin, there was Annie Cunningham and Ron Gutterson, who both testified at the trial. This was via email. Kind, caring, and loving. She is not the monster portrayed by the media, so now they're taking shots at we in the media. We'll always believe her to be innocent. Then there's a woman named Ruth Rosenberg who came from Israel at age 12. They became like sisters. Another guy named Ron Ellis, known her for 30-plus years. He actually said that Donna still has the possibility to learn and grow. So there was a little bit of humility there. I made that point to myself. But then let's get to the 2 biggies, Harvey and Donna. So Harvey, the big one, Joe Potuto. I've been Donna Adelson's husband over 50 years. It would have been 54 years this summer. And he basically said something to the effect of, but this trial ruined our anniversary. Didn't put it in exactly those words. He did say she did, and I quote, nothing wrong. She's being punished for a crime she did not commit. And said that I could not help but scream in my mind when I was watching things play out in court. No wonder he looked that way, Joe Potuto. It was scary looking. He was screaming in his mind.
He said there were outright lies by witnesses, including the Markels. I made a note that if they thought there was evidence that the Markels had seen the grandchildren over all those years, they didn't have to fight to keep out some of the evidence about the interaction with the Markels, and they could have brought in witnesses, to show the receipts. I mean, there was a lot of that claims where there was no evidence to represent, to support it. And he made some of them. And he was the one that went after the Markels directly. I mean,
do you think, Joe, do you think Rob watched this? I think he did.
Well, if I were he, I would have watched it. But if I were Wendi, who claims she never watches any of this, I would watch it. I mean, this is your family. You may be estranged, but it's your family. People are going to ask you questions about it. You might as well watch it and have a real feel for what's going on. I mean, I don't know that putting blinders on and pretending it's not happening is going to help him It's not going to help him to watch either, but I think of the two, it's the lesser evil.
Do you think the boys watched it?
I don't think Wendi would let them watch it, so they would have had to do it on the.
The oldest one is old enough that they can get on social media. They're gonna know.
Yeah.
They're gonna see it. Their friends are gonna say something.
They're smart kids. I mean, they're obviously computer savvy. So,
Which is why we all agree that that's one of the reasons why Donna and Harvey acted the way they did. It's a message to the boys that we're innocent. If she's going to end up in prison the rest of her life anyway, she might as well try to keep the love and respect and the trust of her grandsons.
Yeah.
I hope that they have therapists. I hope that these poor children have therapists, because there's so much to unpack, and the trauma of losing their dad, plus, their grandparents, embroiled in this. One's going to prison, all the stuff that people are going to say to them at school or in the streets or whatever. That's a lot for a child to have to deal with.
Oh man.
I mean, that's all for an adult.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's your father's gone, your grandmother's now in prison, your uncle's in prison, your cousins are growing up without, your cousin Roman's growing up without his dad. I mean, it's crazy the amount, the ripple effect of this, of being a victim here. It's really a horror show. A few more minutes and then we'll wrap it up here. We've been going for 2 hours, 40 minutes and 31 seconds for those counting. So Melba, Harvey continues and says, he literally says, I didn't know you could lie in a courtroom. Danny's parent, and literally shifts the narrative and calls them Danny's parents, talking about the Markels, contend they never saw the grandchildren, and they told lies to the court about this. I have photos from Wendi. Well, what he doesn't tell you is these are supervised visits, which are very infrequent. I mean, to a point where a law was passed in Florida with their name on it, the Markel Act, related to grandparent alienation. So this doesn't happen to other families. I mean, there was literally a law created over this, something that Harvey is calling or dismissing as a lie. It's just disgusting, and you can see the way they twist the truth.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, to Joel's point earlier, if you had the receipts, if you had this proof, why didn't you had plenty of trials and plenty of opportunity to bring forth any evidence that would be in your favor, and you didn't do it. So kind of like too bad, so sad, if that was actually true, which I don't believe it is. But also, when you stand up and you're attacking the process, again, that doesn't endear you to anyone. The judge is not going to be like, oh, wow, yeah, you know what? You're right. They did lie on the stand, right? Like he sat through the whole trial. He could judge their credibility the same way the jury could. And at the end of the day, that was the jury's verdict. That's what the appeal process is for. And if they have some evidence that they can show that, they did in fact lie on the stand, fine. The appellate court will sort that out. But I don't think that to be the case. So, that statement was just trash. It was just
And Joe Potuto, I mean, silence is golden. More people should probably practice silence where they don't have to say something. And Georgia didn't say much of anything. Do you think there was some calculation in that?
I think maybe, but I said this before. I don't agree with the way, at least what I've seen prosecutors in the couple of trials I've watched now in Florida, that they typically do not make much of an argument. And even when they do, it's rarely in writing. And I think that's a disservice to the judge, because it puts on the judge the obligation of doing whatever research needs to be done. It loses the judge the opportunity to hear from an involved party on the other side, maybe an argument or maybe some factual information that he might miss that would help him in coming to his decision. So, yeah, I think it was her being confident. She was clearly right, but I still don't think it's the wiser course for a prosecutor.
Yeah, I just want to.
I got to jump in on that one, former Florida prosecutor.
You're too busy, right? You don't have time.
No. But I mean, and most of the, first of all, you got to know your judge. You've got to, if you're practicing in front of that judge, you're practicing that courthouse, you read them. And so if you can already see that the judge is leaning in your favor, you stand up, you're snatching, defeat out of the jaws of victory, right? You already know you're about to get life. Don't add to it, right? But I do think, though, a lot of prosecutors do make some sort of argument. Again, I don't know if it's because of the length. Maybe this prosecutor was like, listen, we already got this. I firmly agree on the written part, especially if there's a whole bunch of case law, there's a whole bunch of stuff. At least the defense should file something, and the judge can give the prosecution the opportunity to respond if there's any real need to respond. So,
Melba, what Joe is talking about is when the defense files a written motion.
Right.
And then the prosecution does not file a written response.
Okay, all right.
They just come in and argue, leaving the judge and the defense without being able to, differentiate what the state's position is, and it puts everybody in a bad position.
Right. No, that I agree with, especially if they're coming up with a whole bunch of craziness. But the only caveat I will give is that if it's so blatant, like this judge is not gonna. I'm not even gonna waste the court's time because I know the judge can see through it.
And I agree with you completely, except when you worry about the record on appeal.
Of course.
And today, for example, on the issue of you've got to take, you can't take remorse into account or whatever. It seems to me when you're thinking about that record on appeal, and I think the issue is a lot of trial lawyers, and I understand it perfectly, you've got so much to worry about the trial, that to think about how is this record going to look at the next level when they're going to raise this argument with judges who didn't sit through the trial, that you shouldn't miss the opportunity to at least make some case about it. But I agree with you completely. Read the judge and stay away from it when you think you've got to win.
Yeah, thank you to JKC here. Very generous, super sticker here. And I have to agree, great team, Tim, Joe, and Melba. Tim Jansen, so just to put a cap on Harvey's statement, after saying that the Markels are liars, he says, and there is a biased judge, he's talking to that judge, and a jury who are influenced by one-sided media, you're sending an innocent woman to prison. He was stopped at that point after the biased judge comment, and Jackie Fulford basically jumped ahead like 27 pages in his statement to the last line that said, you're sending an innocent woman to prison. This is not justice. This is vengeance. But I mean, how inappropriate, what kind of miscalculation is that for, I don't know if Jackie didn't read it or Josh didn't read it, to allow this guy, the husband of the convicted criminal here, to get up there and say that the judge who he is speaking to is biased.
Yeah, it's like you get pulled over when the police officer walks up. You say, "Hey, pig, what do you want?" It's really going to bode well for you not getting a ticket. It goes back to client control and family control. These lawyers had no control over their witnesses. They had witnesses walking in the courtroom when they shouldn't have been there before they testified. It's just lack of control and professionalism, and it carried through to the sentencing. They weren't prepared. They didn't look at the people and the arguments that were being made. They made arguments that were just outright nonsense. To think that a judge is going to give her 3 years, that judge would have been thrown off the bench. I mean, he would have had people running against him the next day. It was not going to happen, and I think they just don't care.
Wow. Montana Mystic. I want to see photos of this. survivingthesurvivor@gmail.com. I'm going to look at them while I'm at the beach tomorrow. I just walked in, and the energy between you 4 billion people, let's say 3, makes me want to turn around and go outside. And it's snowing here in Montana. What is the date today? It's October
13th.
October 13th.
Is it 13? Oh, yeah.
13th, and it is snowing. I just, part of the reason I had to come down here is I can't take the cold. But Montana, I think if I had the opportunity, I might move. It sounds pretty cool out there. Elizabeth Kim, they have no shame. Wendy's next. Thank you, STS and guests. I can ask anyone but Tim about Wendi because he's so sick of me asking about that. Donna Adelson here. Melba, just quickly again, explain what was going on here, that Jackie was asking for Donna to give an unsworn statement. I don't ever recall any lawyer asking for an unsworn statement. What was happening?
Yeah, that was very strange to me. Again, I think it's to avoid the cross-examination because she knew that her client would fall apart under cross-examination. So, there's that. And, but again, I don't see how the defense benefited from this. They didn't. So what was the exercise? That's what it comes down to me. What was the exercise? Again, in these trials, you want to get in, you want to get out, you want to make your point and streamline things so the judge doesn't get irritated and you're not all there for, forever and a day. Of course, being sure to preserve the record on whatever side you are on. She did not help her case by having Donna get on there unsworn and, giving this missive that she gave.
But we did get a pretty good picture of how Donna would have done on the stand had she testified, and how she would have been able to withstand cross-examination. Seems to me there was a pretty good picture of what it would have been like.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it would have, I'll tell you this, it would have been an absolute train wreck is what it would have been like. So she wants this unsworn testimony. They just get into it. And again, Joe Potuto, she just appropriates the man who she killed. My son-in-law, Danny, was a fine and decent man. He was a good son-in-law, caring man. The whole first third of this was her talking about, Dan. And if she wasn't convicted of killing him, it might be thoughtful, but it rings very hollow otherwise. And it goes on and has the audacity to say he was not murdered. He was hunted down. I wrote a note. This woman's a sociopath. But Joe Potuto, I mean, you guys mentioned this already. She was really speaking, you think, to her grandchildren and her family and a smaller audience here.
I do. I mean, nothing said here is going to really affect what they're doing on appeal. So this was her chance to just talk to her grandsons. I did think, I mean, she talked about, she would never have, I'm not going to get the wording right, taken away such a loving father from their grandchildren. But remember what came out in testimony during the trial, where when Wendi was saying the older boy was having emotional difficulties and missed Dan, that she said, "Oh, children at that age, he's just acting up. He's not going to remember anything." I mean, that person is the real Donna, not the one we heard on the stand saying, "I loved him like crazy." I guess this is the one Wendi said made the banana bread too.
Tim Jansen, all good points there, Joe. My grandson, she says, this is Donna, will grow up without their father. Yeah, because you're convicted of killing them.
Hello.
And then Tim, she gets into this whole thing. She now attacks Georgia. They've attacked everybody, including their own son, Harvey and Donna. Well, Harvey throws Charlie under the bus at one point. But it's interesting, she says, how the state cannot make up its mind. During Katie's trial, they said Katie was a mastermind. During Charlie's trial, it was Charlie who was a mastermind. Then during my trial, it was that she used the word, it was this grandmother who was the mastermind. And she goes, I had no knowledge this was going to happen. I would have stopped it. Where is the evidence prior to the murder? She kept saying, where's the evidence prior to the murder?
Well, they make a point that there was very limited evidence of Donna's involvement prior to the murder, right? We had all the emails, and we know that she admitted that Charlie was her handyman. And we know it wouldn't have been done without her. She was she's the one that wanted it done. It kind of reminds me of the Winchester murder case. If it wasn't for Mike Williams getting the wife wanting Mike killed, there wouldn't have been a Brian Winchester. If there wasn't for a Donna pushing Charlie, and then Charlie pushing these people. Remember the birthday present. And these guys came up and they failed. And then Charlie wrote to Mom, I'm still working on Dad's birthday present. And Mom's response was, I'm sure you'll get it done. If that is not a co-conspirator statement for the solicitation and the conspiracy, I don't know what is. So,
and let me add to that, Tim. This is a murder for hire. So the crime is not completed until the money is paid.
That's
it doesn't
correct.
end at the killing. And there's plenty of evidence prior to that point. I mean, plenty. You've got the evidence of her stopping at Charlie's place. You've got her writing the checks. So
Right.
the evidence of the completion, I mean, I didn't think she was minor even at the first part, but she's clearly not minor in terms of the payment. You don't get the crime finished until then.
I agree. I agree.
And Melba, there were some like just jaw-dropping lines. She says again, she says it multiple times, where was the evidence? Well, obviously there was enough evidence to convict you. And then she says, and I quote here, makes you wonder if the jury was sleeping. Now she's attacking, one of the most, sacrosanct, sacred parts of the American democracy here, these jurors who I interviewed 3 of them, and they were definitely on the up and up. She says, my phone was never near Charlie's house. They pushed this lie of this money drop. All I wanted was a level trial, but instead it was here in the hotbed of Tallahassee.
Yeah, so that's clearly going to be one of the main threads we will see in the appeal, that there should have been a change of venue. There should have been a change of venue. But the reality is, change of venue to where? If she went over to Polk County, she was getting life in 60 seconds, right? She went over to Orlando, she wasn't going to get a better jury over there. And if she came on down to Miami-Dade, trust and believe, she was getting life in 60 seconds as well. So I don't know where she thought in this great state of Florida that she could go, that people, A, would not have heard about the case, or B, that the evidence wasn't going to be, the evidence is still the evidence no matter where it is. So that's what she's forgetting. Like, I understand pretrial publicity, all of that. And usually in jury selection, both parties ask the potential jurors, the jury panel, hey, have you seen anything about this case? Do you have any preformed opinions? Can you just put everything aside and listen to the evidence that came out in court? That's how this works. And so that evidence that came into court was going to come in no matter what courthouse she was in the state. And the outcome was going to be the same. Anything else she's talking about is a pipe dream.
It's really like I have to unwrap and let this, we were thinking of doing another show later today with some reaction, but I told the COE and Steve Cohen, I need to really go back and watch this and actually believe that I just saw what I heard. And then we're going to do shows this week, just getting reaction to these wild statements at Donna's sentencing. If you're just joining us now, Donna Sue Adelson has been sentenced to the max on count 1, first-degree murder, life without the possibility of parole on counts 2 and 3, which is conspiracy and solicitation. She got the max there too, 30 years. At that point, Tim Jansen, where she talked again about the quote-unquote hotbed of Tallahassee, Judge Everett jumps in and says, what is any of this? These are grievances. What does this have to do with the sentencing? That's where Jackie Fulford had to jump in and basically truncate her entire statement, probably to the last couple of lines. And she says 11 years ago, again, using the nickname Danny, 11 years ago, Danny was murdered. She talks about her grandchildren. I love these boys more than life itself. Not enough to not kill their father, I might add, but I was not involved in any way with Danny's murder, which is why you were convicted. Julie Frew has a statement from Josh Zellman. Unfortunately, it was not expected. We will be issuing unexpected. Correct. Thank you, Tim. We will be issuing a press release. The COE will have all of that. We put that into Patreon, and I'll usually put it out a couple of days later on Instagram at Surviving the Survivor. On Twitter, I'm at Podcast STS. Again, Instagram, Surviving the Survivor. Twitter, Podcast STS. I guess let's go around the whole.
Can I ask Melba and Joe a question?
Yeah, please.
If I was representing Mrs. Adelson, which I wouldn't have done, and I was representing her for killing Dan Markel, I would never, as a defense lawyer, call him Danny. I didn't know him, and if I did know him, I still wouldn't call him Danny. I think it's disrespectful. Am I wrong she kept saying Danny like she knew him? I just think that's inappropriate.
I complained at the time because I was doing, the trial, the coverage. I thought it was completely inappropriate. It was what do they call it up? It's not what's the ear when you don't hear, when you're not tone deaf. That's right. It was completely tone deaf. Right. I thought it was just, and it was unnecessary. She could have said Professor Markel the whole way through, and that would have been respectful. And, so he was known as Danny to his friends. He was known as Professor Markel in professional circle. I
Right.
agree with you completely.
And even I'm going to go one step further. I think that even as a prosecutor, I wouldn't have called him Danny.
I agree.
Because again, yes, you want to humanize him to the jury and all of that, but I think you have to put some respect on his name. And the fact that, like, listen, he was a professor, he was a dad, you know, you got to have that decorum. And so I think even as a prosecutor, I wouldn't have said Danny. I would have referenced it maybe in closing or in opening and calling him Danny, but otherwise the victim, Mr. Markel, Professor Markel. That to me is the classy way to do it.
So Melba, what's next here? I mean, you've been following this case fairly closely. I asked Tim every show, and it's a running joke with us. But I mean, there is I guess a thirst for completion of the circle of justice, and that would include most people believe Wendi Adelson. Do you think we see that happen? I mean, Dave Arenberg was on my show last week, former Florida State Attorney for Palm Beach County. He said we're going to see an indictment within 30 to 45 days of sentencing, which is today. Do you agree with that?
Okay, so Dave's my buddy, adore him. I agree, but I don't know that it'll be that quick. I feel like it might be January, February. Reason being, number one, these folks need to rest. I mean, I hate to break it to folks, and I know y'all are with me on this. Trying cases is exhausting, okay? I used to call it the trial diet because you go to trial, you go drop 10 pounds because you're not eating, you're not sleeping, you're running ragged. So the team needs to rest. They need to take a moment to breathe, kind of look at everything. All right, what do we have? What else do we need? Are we good to go? All right, are we ready to gear up for round two? So I feel like January is when we might be seeing, new year, get through the holidays, start fresh. So my gut would say January, February of next year. And that would be my hope, that Wendi would get indicted at that
time. Greetings to Canadians. I put a note in here at the top of the show. I totally forgot. I believe it is Canadian Thanksgiving today. So if I'm right about that, happy Thanksgiving to all of you. I appreciate that comment, or just a nice comment in the chat. But happy Canadian Thanksgiving to all of you. Joe Potuto, since I don't ask you as much as I asked him, let me leave it more open-ended. What's next? Obviously, Donna has to file an appeal within 30 days.
And she will.
Any chance we see any movement on the Harvey side of things? Anything that could go down there? And what about what Dave said about Wendi? Do you think that's coming?
Well, I've said from the beginning, I think it's coming. I still think it's coming. And in my own view, the sooner the better. But, as to when the prosecutors will decide, I think Melba makes a really persuasive argument that after the first of the year would be sensible for them. I heard Dave Aronson when he thought it would be, what did he say, 30 to 45 days? And I thought he sounded pretty persuasive too, as to why he thought it was coming that soon. And I don't much care. My only interest is sooner rather than later. So I do care, I guess.
And I'm getting confirmation. It is, in fact, Canadian Thanksgiving. Yes, it is, Joel. What a day for Donna to get her sentence. By the way, she was arrested on the 13th of November. Today is October 13th, a couple years later. So she is sentenced on the same day. Last but certainly not least, he's a friend of mine, friend of the show, all-around great guy, handsome, and a great dresser. Tim Jansen, with the pocket square firmly in place. The famed Tallahassee criminal defense attorney. Tim, your last thoughts here today. Is a wild sentencing. Again, we're going to get reaction to sentencing probably throughout the week. And Tim, where do we go from here?
This whole case of Donna started off with so many professional ethics issues with the conflict between Dan. Had to continue that trial. Then we get the new lawyers. They come in and they do a bunch of shenanigans. And it just, the whole trial has been nothing but how you would not teach law students how to do trial advocacy, how not to file motions. And then at the sentencing, it just continues. It just continues. It's a continuation of how not to prepare and litigate a case. And I guess I'm disappointed, but I'm not surprised. right?
Tim from Dreamscape, you're not done yet. Courtroom 3G is reserved for the state for the next 2 days. Can you please ask Tim Jansen, is that normal or is that for the grand jury? What is going on with this conspiracy, Tim?
Well, I can tell you the grand jury does meet in that room.
Okay.
And I know that because sometimes I walked by one time and I think it was Sarah said, you can't go in there. I'm like, why? The courtroom. Well, the grand jury's meeting. I'm like, okay, I won't go in. But I know the grand jury does meet in that courtroom, but I have no knowledge. I'm not saying anything. I don't know anything. I leave it to the other experts.
That's a great answer. I've never heard Tim answer that way. I leave it to the other experts. There you go. I get, yeah.
To the professors who are the experts.
Well, 30 days from now would be November, roughly 13th. It'd basically be sometime before December if Dave Ehrenberg is right. But I'll tell you who knows or will know. Grand jury potentially and the state. And that's pretty much it. And maybe the man or woman upstairs. I have to. Karma's convinced that the person upstairs is a woman, so I can't argue with that. And I will apologize once again, Joe, for my ageist comment earlier where I said that Dr. Ben Graber, at least it was a man I was making fun of.
No,
Dr.
it doesn't make it any better. Doesn't make it a whit better.
And Joe's not going to let me. It makes you feel better. I couldn't do that. I'd be the one. And by the way, I heard that the phone that went off was in fact Harvey Adelson's phone. That's my biggest fear in court. And thank you to New Zealand for this. We've seen that super chat earlier, so thank you so much. Thanks to the best guests, Melba, Joe Potuto, the professor emerita, and the famed Tallahassee criminal defense attorney, Tim Jansen. We'll be back tomorrow. Please, if you haven't, Google Ellen Greenberg. There's a great doc about her story on Hulu right now. And we're going to be doing a story, I think, tomorrow. Her death was just re-ruled a self-unaliving. That's how I have to phrase it. And there's more corruption because that medical examiner is directly connected to the DA's office through her husband. So that story continues on, but it is a big blow to the Greenberg family. And they are, I spoke to Sandy today, and she did say that they are absolutely devastated, trying to gain their footing. There's a hearing in that case tomorrow. So we'll bring you the latest news on that and more.
Joe,
Donna Adelson throughout the week.
May I ask something about that?
Yeah.
Did the coroner at least have to explain how it was a suicide given where all the stab wounds were? Did he ever have to, or she ever have to explain how it can be done?
Joe, how dare you think it's a man? It's a woman.
No, I got Ian again.
Yeah, we're even now. The short of it is,
you have so many of them. I could possibly catch up.
Now you sound like Harm. It's a 32-page document I'm going to read tonight. I haven't had a chance. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to read it, but let's get you on that. And once you read up on it, we'll get you on the show.
Yeah, I think it's an outrage. It's just an outrage.
Everything about that stinks. I agree with you.
Yeah, I agree.
Always shady in Philadelphia.
Well, on that note, fun. I love this panel.
Yeah, it was a great panel. Thank you for being here, Joe. Love you, America. Justice for Dan Markel. Here he is right here. Oh, let me put it up right there. Justice for Dan Markel. Happy Canadian Thanksgiving Day. And we'll see you tomorrow, probably for 2 shows tomorrow, and then back the rest of the week. Love you all. Have a great day. Be kind.